There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Am I not muted tonight, guys? Is that happening? Are we actually live? Because I know last time we had some minor inconveniences with that.
You're live. I even gave you a little bit of an echo just to start it off, just for extra effect, but we're good now.
Okay, we're good now.
Little 70s guitar action with the reverb.
Yeah, something like that.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Soccer Over There. It is your host, Nick Leafy, and I am joined by esteemed colleagues who keep this show afloat, because if they simply left it to me, it would just supernova upon itself instantaneously. And that's Mr. Jason Longshore and John Nelson. Gentlemen, how we doing? We had kind of had a little drop off in the soccer action. NHL picked up. There we go. How is the Attack of the Killer Tomato, by the way?
Really good. It's different. It's a little it's interesting. I mean, it's a saison, which is a little different anyway, but it's got a really smoky taste to it. More smoke than tomato.
All right.
I like it. It's a nice sipping beer.
All right. I'm down with that. Okay, I'll have to give that a try. We'll see what's happening. Meanwhile, gentlemen, Serie A's wrapped. Well done to them. They managed to get the entire season in like 40 days. That's very impressive. They were running games like every 3 days. So our guys came through. Juve walking out the winners, of course. There are now conversations that they want to try to do a playoff system at the end because they feel it's going to be better for the league, instead of having one team with all the financial ability be able to run the table. If they can divide that up, maybe put a little more of a puncher's chance with some of the squads out there.
Does anyone know what's going on here?
No, Bruce.
No one knows what's going on. I salute them for trying. I mean, if anything, I believe that it would probably enhance the product. I don't know if they're actually going to be able to pull that off, but what do you think, guys? Do you think we should start seeing some more leagues go to playoffs, or do you think we need to kind of just leave things the way they are?
I vote for playoffs, but people would lose their minds in some of these countries, most of these countries. But I love playoffs. The MLS postseason is epic. Absolutely love the intensity of the postseason, and it is the great equalizer. I mean, in the American sports with playoffs, you do see your New England Patriots get there quite a bit. Now, they have recycled their squad. They keep getting there because they do a good job with their front office. We know these things. Shooter's probably very happy about me giving the Patriots some love. I'm assuming since he's a Revs fan, he's a Patriots fan as well. But it also creates a situation where just because the Patriots are good doesn't mean they win the league title every single freaking year, which gets old. They get beat in the playoffs sometimes. It does happen. And that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, but you're talking about, a century plus of doing it one way. And I don't know if leagues are going to be too receptive to changing that.
I think Serie A should probably look into it. Of all the leagues, I think Serie A should be open.
Which league would light itself on fire the least by having playoffs?
Ooh.
Serie A. Out of all of them?
You think?
Yeah, because there's only one fan base that wants to leave it exactly the way it is.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, yeah, let's do this. Come on.
Yeah,
whatever it takes.
How do you think, light itself on fire the least, how do you think that our boy Neil Doncaster would like a playoff in the SPFL?
Well, everybody else would like it except for Jarrett Smith and Celtic. They'd hate it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, everybody else would enjoy it. You'd probably have Dundee withhold their vote for another set of haggis and iron brew and whatever else they got when they put their vote up for bid.
Or you'd have votes go into the spam filter.
Something like that.
Also true. Can you imagine Motherwell coming out of the playoffs and somehow making it to the top?
Ross County with their lineup of Rosses somehow winning?
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
They have more Rosses than just the goalkeepers, I found out.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they can have 5 Rosses or so on the game day roster if they want to.
Oh, man.
Get Ross Poldark to sign up.
That's a walking Friends sketch.
Oh.
If Ross County would just do that.
Oh.
It's like
So what happened? What happened with that loss the other day? We were on a break.
That's what you need to have. You need to have, like on Spinal Tap, on the bass, where they have like 14 bass players on the stage at the same time. Like, that's what we need. At left mid, Ross. Center, Ross.
All right, we've had
as long as you don't have anybody like Mick Shrimpton on drums.
God, the references just keep going.
That's true. That's going to be like, that would be Steve. That would be like the one guy on the team not named Ross would be Steve, and something terrible happens to Steve in every game.
And it has to be a guy named Steve, because that would be what happens with this guy every single time.
That's right.
Every single Steve knows what happens every single time that you're not the guy named Ross.
That's right, the new Steve.
It's like Kenny in South Park. Every single time something happens poorly to the guy named Steve at Ross County.
We have multiple people asking, Nick, your thoughts on Zlatan at Milan.
Hey, when Zlatan went to Milan, my first thoughts were this geezer is trying to get one last push, and Milan, who needed something desperately, anything to lift them, were willing to take a shot, and it's a shot that worked. I was wrong. I think a lot of soccer pundits were wrong. I think it says a lot about MLS. Believe it or not, I think it says that MLS is a hell of a lot more competitive than people give it credit for. It also says that the Galaxy didn't do him any favors with that defense they trotted out behind him. But Milan had one of the youngest squads in Serie A, and for them, they had talent, but they didn't have the mindset. And I think when Zlatan walked in, it was, I don't know if I want to say Jordan with the Wizards, but that's the closest I can come to and say, all right, it's Jordan walking into the Wizards locker room and saying, we're done being bad. Like, we will at least be competitive, and you're going to follow me. And was Jordan on his last legs? Absolutely. But he managed to drag that team, a lot of people forget, into a very competitive position. I believe that, didn't they make the playoffs? Which they had, it had been a long time.
They might have. I mean, it was bad. He had less to work with than Zlatan had to work with at Milan. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and Rafael has, to me, been the greatest beneficiary of Zlatan, because you could see his confidence skyrocketed. Hakan's confidence skyrocketed. The entire team, and it really started early, because he was able to provide hold-up play for them in a manner in which they did not get out of Piontek or any of the other people who they tried trotting out at forward. And that, coupled with Pioli and his ability to keep things level and calm and not worry about the fact that the Elliott Fund was looking for the next big, bright thing, or even Gazidis was looking for the next big, bright thing. He just said, look, I'm just going to go out there and do my job. And I think it was the perfect marriage between Pioli keeping everything calm, helping to, and I'm going to rip off Georgia here, and I can't believe I'm doing it, keeping the main thing, and Zlatan kicking in the door in the locker room and saying, I don't care how bad of a player you are, you're not going to suck today, because I'm not going to allow it. It was the perfect marriage, and I don't think you're getting that with any other player short of Maldini walking down from the executive suite and lacing him up. So I was wrong on Zlatan. I think a lot of people were wrong, and I think that Milan is in the process of getting another 1-year deal done with him.
Sounds like it,
and I think that's the right move. At this point, you do it until he can't. You just say, all right, we're going to keep going, and we'll bring an understudy, and Zlatan can punch him in the face at practice or whatever he does, and maybe try to Bruce Lee cross kick some new defender. But at the end of the day, if he's helping drag your team from like 13th or 14th place up to 6th, I mean, yeah, we're going to let that happen. Yeah, keep it rolling. So that's my take on Zlatan. I have no problems with it. Keep re-signing the 1-year contract.
Wizards with Jordan did not make the playoffs either year. They got close. They were 5 games out both years, but didn't make it.
2 years, 37 and 45.
There we go. I'm okay with that comparison, though, because it was. I mean, under Marco Giampaolo, that Milan team was a disaster. They were heading toward relegation with Marco Giampaolo at the helm, who just took the Torino job, by the way.
They were headed towards the Ralph Rangnick press. That's what they were headed towards.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who want to say that they still should have fired Pioli and given him some ridiculous severance, but for Rangnick, it would have been a poison chalice because the players had bought in. They were openly campaigning for Pioli to stay. To the media, anytime a microphone was put in front of them, they were talking about the effect that Pioli had through the COVID-19 lockdown, helping get them to right the ship and boost their confidence. And if Rangnick had come in and taken over, the locker room would not have bought in at all. I think the locker room would have been like, get the blank out of here. But I also think that the Milan fan base would have been absolutely up in arms. And so Rangnick, if the reports are correct from what you saw in Kicker, where it said it was by mutual consent that they both said now's not the time. If Rangnick said that, he's 100% correct. And Rangnick wants Milan. I don't think that gets talked about enough. It's not that Milan is just a team with the financial backing and a profile to give him what he wants. When he was coming up, there are two key people that he took his inspiration from. One was Valery Lobanovsky, the former Dynamo Kiev manager who instituted a ridiculously insane press, and then Saki's Milan. So he and his comrades would watch Saki's Milan on tape and pick up how to do the press, how they were pressing, and between Lobanovsky with the press and the metrics and how you can marry those two to have a functional system. That was like the birth of Rangnick's vision of pressing. So he wants the Milan job. And I wouldn't be shocked. A lot of you guys may have seen that he terminated his relationship with Red Bull. I think he's waiting to see what's going to happen next season with Pioli. Maybe because if Pioli does what's true to form for Pioli, and I really hope it doesn't happen because I really like the guy. 8 games, they struggle, they'll get him out. They'll have plenty of reason to do that. Rangnick comes in and institutes the changes that he wants. But, with everything that has happened, it is a marriage between Zlatan and Pioli that made this renaissance work for Milan.
Michael Ruiz with a question. Is it fair to say Zlatan has been the best player in the last half of the Serie A season, not named Ronaldo or Immobile?
I think there's a few players on Atalanta who may want to have that conversation. I think Zlatan is by far the highest profile player to have the best season. And I know that may be sort of splitting hairs, but out of the named people, I don't know if a lot of people, follow Jovan or if they want, there's a couple of other players that I think are in contention there. But Zlatan, if you're talking about not just goals scored, but overall effect that he's had on a team, yes, Zlatan is that guy. I get that and somebody said it this morning, that he's the Ric Flair of soccer, and he is. And I can just see Zlatan cutting an old NWA promo with Tony Schiavone and old school JR, like Zlatan is multimillionaire. Europa League does not happen to Zlatan. I can see that promo happening. But yeah, I think, Michael, I think that's a great shout. Overall,
let me explain something to you 3 cartoon characters.
Preach, brother. Preach, Brother Flair.
Shooter with a point, and you guys are going to have to answer this one for me. I'm not the hockey guy around here. Zlatan reminds Shooter of Jaromir Jagr.
Well, the fact that Jagr would continue to play into his mid-40s and still be active with the Florida Panthers, still putting 20 goals a season in there. He'd go and get his cup of coffee in the KHL. He'd put up some sick numbers for a shortened season. Then he'd come back over here and do another 20 goals. So, yeah, I could definitely see him being
That's
like
where Shooter was at. He was always a great show until his mid-40s and bounced around from team to team.
Yeah.
dominated with his size.
Now I'm just waiting to see if Zlatan turns into Gordie Howe.
Yeah,
he's a physical freak enough.
Wasn't it Gordie Howe that had that infamous picture where he's like flying, like he's like parallel with the ice?
Oh, that's Bobby Orr.
That's Bobby Orr. Okay.
Gordie Howe played into his 50s and played with his kids, and he, even in his 50s when he played in Hartford, he still had that mean streak in him. And do you remember the ESPN commercial with Keith Olbermann?
Yeah.
Where Gordie Howe is trying to tell stories and he's like jerking Olbermann around with the hockey gloves and everything. Gordie Howe was a mean dude even in his early 50s playing the sport.
Can you imagine? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just if you go from can we go from Yager? 5 years, can we go from like Yager to Gordie Howe here with Zlatan?
Can you imagine Zlatan with Yager's mullet, though?
Yeah, I could see that.
He'd want to tie it behind his head, and I'd want to go after him with a pair of scissors. He wouldn't go full mullet, though.
Why?
So you're going to cut my hair when it keeps growing, then?
Oh, he just shows up and starts running his mouth.
Jarrett.
Oh, jeez.
Look. Hey, I'll say this. Zlatan's not done in Italy. Even if he does one more year with Milan and it's done there, he's immediately going about 30 minutes up the road to Monza. There's no way in the world Berlusconi lets him get out of Italy again. This is not happening. There's no way. And he'll get Monza to Serie A. They'll build a statue to Zlatan outside of the stadium there. That's the way it's going to happen. Jarrett, what's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm good. It's a Monday night. Sports are coming back slowly. European seasons are starting, and at the same time, in Champions League and Europa League case, kind of concluding and wrapping, and weird stuff is happening. It's sort of like being in the eye of a hurricane, and you're looking out at all of just the stupidity and the chaos that is going on around you, and will soon unfold, while at the same time looking out and acknowledging the most anti-Atlanta series possible between the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. He's right there. But the thing is, but Jarrett, I can't hold anything against Winnipeg because it was Atlanta Spirit's fault. It was not Peter Thompson's fault and Thomson Reuters for wanting to give him a good home. And Calgary, I mean, Jason had the point we were talking about at pre-flight. Jason can't hold anything against Calgary because it's been 40 years.
It's been a while. They didn't steal it.
I'm still sad.
I mean, I think we all are, but it's just the notion of can you really hate them both?
Sure. I mean, not really.
Sure you can.
I can't.
Nick can hate anything.
I can't hate the ownership. I can't hate the individual players. All I know is that the first time I sat down and tried to watch a Winnipeg Jets game, I just couldn't do it. Like I got through like a period and a half. I was like, nope, this can't happen. Like this was the year after they left, and most of that roster was the same. And it was like right after I had fully bought into like Dustin Byfuglien's existence, and it's like, nope, can't do it. I'm done.
All right, before we get too deep into hockey down here, that'll be on at like 3 a.m. somewhere on some channel. We'll go there later. We got a question from Bernd Dursberger, and that'll lead us into a topic from this morning that I want Nick and Jarrett to chime in on. So going back to our buddy Ralph, according to Bernd, Rangnick wants to prove Red Bull's wrong for basically putting him out to pasture. That's why he wants one more gig. He's got a big ego, so Nagelsmann probably made it a condition for Rangnick to be gone before he signed up with RB Leipzig. They're also moving away from the straight-up press. Nagelsmann is, evolving it a little bit. It's kind of, what Klopp did at Liverpool. How it took him some time. He had to add some more pieces because once you get to the point that you're not the plucky underdog anymore, your press isn't as effective. Once you become a heavyweight, teams are going to sit back against you, and you can't press them. There's no way to press. You got to be able to play a different way. So what do you think about Rangnick kind of waiting for that spot to stick it to Red Bull to show them, hey, no, I've still got something to give here?
I completely agree. You saw this something similar when you had the transformation from Catenaccio to Gioco all'Italiana, which was the sort of a more flexible version of Catenaccio, which fell apart because everybody started playing it in Italy. So when you started seeing that subtle change and it made you more competitive, it sort of gets you out of that sort of religious dogma of a system that says, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And when you start getting success or you start seeing the shortcomings and you have to make adjustments, you start realizing that there's alternatives out there for you. And we saw this, like you said, with Liverpool, where Klopp realized, okay, I can't just do the same stuff I was doing over at Borussia Dortmund. We can't just play heavy metal football 24/7. Our players are going to be dead by the end of it. There's too many competitions, and we have to be able to protect our talent so that way they have something in the tank toward the end. Adjustments were made. I think that Rangnick wants to prove Red Bull wrong, but I also think he wants that ego trip. I'll take it a step further. He wants that ego trip of taking a team like Milan that has been in the gutter and saying, I'm going to institute my system as it was originally built, as it was supposed to be done, and I'm going to resurrect this giant that no one else has been able to do. I'm going to do it. And my original old school religious dogma ways are going to make it happen. And I think you're correct, Bernd, in that it is that one last gig to prove to the Red Bull organization, my way is the best way. And I don't know what Rangnick would be for Milan. I don't know if he would necessarily get that, because I think that center back play in Italy is probably a little bit better than Rangnick thinks it is. Like I'll use Juve for the example, and I've used this before. Bonucci. If you try to press Bonucci will spray a ball downfield 60 yards right to the feet of Ronaldo, and it's going to be perfect, and he's going to beat your press in one pass. The textbook counter is 3 passes or fewer. It's textbook. If you want to have a goal scoring opportunity, 3 passes or less, Juve can do that, 1 pass. So I don't know how Rangnick's press would necessarily work there, and I also don't know how it would work against some of the more provincial teams that would do exactly what you're saying, Jason, and just bunker to high heaven.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to drop back and we're just going to go for the draw, baby. Let's go. Press all you want. And, I mean, what do you do then? Then you're forced to play. And I don't know if Rangnick's going to be able to do that. But it is an ego play. And I don't blame him. You know, if that was me in that position, I would go for it. Would it be the wrong choice? Maybe, but I would do it still. The ego calls to you, you know, when people say you're washed up, you know?
It's interesting.
Everybody wants one last chance.
You look at Mourinho. I mean, Mourinho when he comes back, he's always like, you know, I've learned, I've studied, I'm gonna do things differently. And,
right,
you know, to a degree, like, you are who you are, especially, I think, at that stage. You know, Mourinho is still young, a lot younger than Rangnick. Can he develop anything else? You'd think he would have by now. If he can, he can't.
Right.
You know, I don't see, you know, Ralph suddenly adding elements to his game. Like, he's going to do what he's going to do. He's the kind of coach that we see in sports all the time who is probably better suited to that plucky underdog who, you know, doesn't have a lot to work with and has a style that is more gimmicky than some of the other teams in Germany. That's why he's been, you know, to the edge of the success. He's had teams that have done well, but always punched above their weight. You know, you have those types of coaches. You put them in a situation where you give them all the resources, or they're with a favored team. They don't know how to handle it. That's not their job. That's not what they do. I kind of look at him that way. So if he wants to go and take a team and bring them up, which is going to take a little bit of time, that would seem to be the job that he would want. That'd be the job he's best suited for. Anything other than that, I don't know if he's going to be successful or not. I think, you know, it's too easy to counter what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm. It's with the press and with Milan. There are a couple of things, and I'm going to have to channel a little bit of Frank de Boer here. When Frank talked about his time at Inter, And he talked about how he had to deal with the agents and he had to deal with, all the politics. Gazidis will be there to handle some of that for Milan, but you're going to have a toxic pit waiting on you because Milan chased off Boban. They almost chased off Maldini. And the only way to get Ralph Rangnick in is going to be to fire Pioli and to fire Maldini. And if you do that, it's a poison chalice for Rangnick walking in. And he's someone who burns out. 2-3 years, he gets burned out because he's a guy who wants total institutional control. And I think there are more control mechanisms in Bundesliga than there are in Serie A. It's a little more of the Wild West on the team side. And the culture is that the inmates will run the asylum if given the slightest window to do so. I hope that if Ralph is waiting on Milan, I hope he waits a long time because I hope Pioli's successful. But if not, he's going to have to make that change overnight. It's going to be like installing the option for college football fans who are newer to soccer and soccer tactics. Imagine a team coming in, a coach coming in and, okay, we're going to run the air raid. And you've been like a run-heavy team for the past 3 or 4 years. Okay, great. Do we have a quarterback who can do that? I don't know. We're going to do it anyway. We're going to run the option. Okay. Do we even have any of the remote personnel necessary to do that? Nah, you don't need them. Just line them up and go. There's going to be changes necessary, and there's going to be growing pains. And I don't know if Milan's in a position to sort of weather the growing pains that Ralph Rangnick would want to impose to get what he wants. For the record, I understand the counterpress, the gegenpressing. I understand it. I appreciate it. I think it's the new Catenaccio where if you have a team that is a bit bereft on talent and you need to compete,
that's the key.
It is a perfect system for you.
Yep.
If you were trying to develop talent and sell it, counterpressing offers you an opportunity to present a player who may be on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like really good, a player who's like a 5 or a 6 in a better light because you're showing off their athleticism. They're right and they're being put into dangerous situations frequently. And it allows you to say, oh, look, see this guy, he has a high motor. He can put the ball in the net nonstop. And it's because your system's really aiding that process. So that really helps you if you're a smaller team. That's not really what Milan wants to be, though. So we'll see how it goes. But those are really good points, Bernd. I think you're correct. Short story long, Bernd is correct.
All right, let's see how this goes.
Little Mike Tyson's punch out there for you.
John, you have a line.
Mondays with Reddit.
Thank you. Mario Balotelli, not going to come back to Brescia, right? We can pretty much rule that one out. He is in advanced talks with a championship club. Not in the championship, a team that has won a championship this year. He is going to a champion, reportedly. He's in advanced talks. You want to know who it is?
Yeah, what country?
Brazil.
Romania! Cluj.
Oh, my God. Is Cluj still in Europa League, or did they get knocked out?
Oh, I don't know. They won the Romanian league today.
Oh.
Balotelli to Wallachia. Okay.
Well, I mean, hey, Arthur Boris just went back to Legia Warsaw, so I mean, party like it's 2008, y'all.
That's according to who are we crediting here? Danino on Twitter, who is a Romanian football addict at tikitaka.ro. I didn't know there was a Tiki-Taka Romanian site. It's also according to Look Sport. Cluj is negotiating with Mario Balotelli.
Cluj got bumped out in the previous round of Europa League by Sevilla on away.
Yeah.
Shooter wants Balotelli to MLS, and Thad Dooley is saying about Romania. No racists there. No.
No,
of course
none.
Not Not at all. Cluj somehow had like 20-plus positive coronavirus tests before their last match, and then they were all false positives somehow, maybe, possibly.
Shocking.
Yeah. A little debatable there.
He just needs to go to Montreal. Just call up.
Yes, he does.
Thierry Henry needs to call his agent up and be like, Mario, stop being stupid and come here and get this bag.
Yeah. Come eat all the poutine you want, and you'll be beloved here.
Yes.
Could you imagine if Balotelli ate all the poutine he wanted and he just ended up pulling the ripcord and he ended up being like a triple X or something?
That's fine. He'd still score some goals for you. He's better than anything else they got.
26 positives, by the way, for Cluj.
Yeah, but they were all false. None of them were real. Yeah.
With Balotelli, all you'd have to do is say, Mario, I want you to get between the two center backs, and you stay right there flat even with them, and then you turn around and shoot. That's it. I don't want you to do anything else. You're not going to have to do
that back heel thing you did against the LA Galaxy. Don't do that.
Don't do anything else. Just turn and shoot. That's it. Very simple. And the problem, look, I love Mario Balotelli. I really do.
I do too.
I wish to God he would just come to MLS and get it over with. Not because I think he's at a dead end in his career, because I think he needs to go somewhere where he's not going to be racially abused every 3 games and can find some sort of peace in his life. And here he can drive fine automobiles, live like a king, and better yet, have the anonymity that he wants when he wants it. If he wants to go on to late night talk shows, he can.
Yep.
If he wants to, hang out and party and live it big, he can. But if he wants to go and vanish, he can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you were the Impact, would you give him $5 million a year? That's what Michael Ruiz is suggesting.
Would I give Mario Balotelli $5 million a year? What's Joseph making right now? 6?
Joseph's making like 3 or 4, I think.
I think he was in the 3 to 4 on the books. Yeah.
I'm not paying him more than Joseph Martinez, but
Montreal might.
I would give Mario Balotelli $3 million a year to come here, and I would.
Joey Saputo is that crazy? He would do it.
Oh, for sure. No, I can't imagine Cluj is giving him more.
You could give a French striker that much in Montreal. I think if you got Olivier Giroud to go to Montreal, you could do that.
Ooh.
Yeah, if you could get Giroud, I'd take him first. Sorry, Mario, but I think Mario would be a star in Montreal.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think Giroud would just be a huge one just because he's French and because it's Montreal,
absolutely.
Man.
No, absolutely. He'd be if you have that opportunity, go for it, but I don't know about that one.
Well, Saputo needs to do it because Saputo can pitch to him. 1, I'm going to give you massive endorsement deals away from the pitch. I will use my financial clout to get you substantial.
You will be the face of the Saputo supermarkets.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You will get paid, and you will get paid more than the $2 to $3 million. Yeah, that's right. Every place you go, it's going to be Mario with the mohawk.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to get paid, and if you ball out of control in MLS for 2 seasons, you give me 2 seasons of competitive play, Mario, where you don't lose your damn mind, I will get you back to Serie A. And I have a team there.
That's true.
That I can put you with, but I got to know that you're not going to be a knucklehead. So, ball out of control for 2 years. I'm going to bring you back to the show. You can play in front of Mama again. It's going to be great. And that's the way I pitch it. Because, look, Mario wants to be close to his family. He has a fantastic relationship with his adoptive parents. That is a part of the process you must respect with Mario. At the same time, Mario will not have the life he wants in Italy. He will not have it in Romania. He will not have it anywhere. He might be able to find some of that here in the U.S. So from a business perspective, it can be done. I would not pay him on an MLS salary, very, very important, more than $3 million a year, but I would make sure off the field he had enough significant sponsorships to bring that to about the $5 million range if possible.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Okay, the big topic of the day. This came up this morning, and I wanted to get your take on it, Nick. And I want to get your take on it too, Jarrett, following Scotland, because every league kind of has its own personality and things that it values. And it came up this morning about athletic leagues and the whole Zlatan conversation. Is Serie A more physically demanding than MLS, or is it less physically demanding? I kind of think it's less. And then you look at other leagues and you look at what's valued, and Bernd Dursberger talked about in Germany how on the Bundesliga website you can go and you can look at distance covered. Like you can pull up, how much ground players and teams covered. Bayer Leverkusen covered the most ground in the season. Dusseldorf, who was a bunkering team, covered the least. Bayern was right in the middle in the bottom half. Dortmund was actually lower than Bayern. Individuals, Kimmich was your leader in ground covered, almost an extra 1.25 kilometers per 90 minutes than the average. Alphonso Davies was right below the average. Tyler Adams was just above the average. But the Bundesliga, that is something that's valued there. In MLS, I don't know. It depends on kind of team to team and who you talk to if that's valued. I think in England that would be valued. In Italy, probably not. They don't really care. In Spain, definitely not. It'd be pointless. People would laugh at anybody who's high up the list. So in terms of just the profile, going back to the original question, Italy, is it a less physically demanding league than some of the others in Europe, other major leagues?
It's getting there. The old school idea of Italy being this mecca for defense, it's justified. I'll say that Italy is more of a paranoid culture in general, and it goes back to the old city-state days. Those dirty Milanese are coming after us. Those Genoese people are coming after us. The Sicilians, everyone's coming after us. And it really that has permeated its way into the sport. It permeated its way into this defensive, rigid mentality of we know what we do and we're going to do it well, and we're more concerned with stopping you than we are with exploiting and wrecking you. That's changing though. When you see teams like Atalanta and Sassuolo. That was the other thing. Caputo for Sassuolo is somebody who would like to have a conversation with Zlatan for most important Serie A player. But I would say that that's changing. Athleticism is certainly taking a greater hold in Serie A. I think that might be why Milan was looking at bringing in Rangnick, because they're maybe reading the tea leaves on where the league is going. And I think it's they're recognizing the fact that in an athletic league, you can develop younger talent faster and get them on the field faster, because you need that younger talent to keep up that pace and intensity, and you're not going to do that with the old guys. But for right now, no. Serie A is not as demanding from a distance covered perspective. From a physicality standpoint, it's a very physical league. They will beat you up.
I was about to say, how do you define that?
A ton of cars.
Okay.
So, that I heard the conversation earlier about, when we talk about MLS teams that could survive in Serie A. From a physicality standpoint, I think MLS would do quite well. Especially when we talk about like the 2018 Atlanta United, 2017 Toronto, and I'm going off the top of my head recall here, LAFC.
Yeah.
I think those are three teams that could be anywhere from fighting above the relegation line to mid-table, anywhere in there. And it's only
8 to 15. Is that fair? 8 to 15 in that kind of ballpark. 8 to 15.
Yeah. And the only reason I say that would be a challenge is because the provincial sides that litter the middle of the table, know how to gum up the works on attacking teams. They don't care about getting out with 3 points. They are willing to walk out with the old, David Amial says it all the time, rather 2 wounded than 1 dead. So that's what they would rather walk out with. So when we talked about FC Cincinnati, and I said, yeah, Jaap Stam he knows how to gum things up. Yeah, it's because not only did he learn underneath, Frank de Boer, but he's had stints at Lazio and Milan. He knows how to put the full brakes on an attack and to throw the monorail, the Disney tour bus, the cruise ship, everything on the field to keep you from scoring.
So, Jarrett, Scotland, what is, it's a step below the top leagues in Europe. I think it's probably a little bit of a step below MLS as a whole. I say a step. I'm being nice. I think it's below MLS, although some people would argue with that.
It is.
But
it is.
In terms of physicality and what's valued in Scotland, is it distance covered? Is it a physically demanding league more than it's a technically demanding league?
Yeah, it's physically demanding. Ask Teemu Pukki. Pukki goes from Schalke to Glasgow, and has even talked about in interviews that he kind of underestimated what going to Scotland would mean, and it just beats the hell out of you. I mean, it's one of those things that I would love to, if we're ever allowed to, get back in the locker rooms and even post gamers for Atlanta United and Atlanta United too. I would love to pick John Gallagher's brain about his time at Aberdeen, and see how in depth he wants to go about the physicality, because it's just a physically demanding league. They're gonna beat the crap out of you. You're playing in a country and in a league where at the end of December you take a 2-week break, because as you get into the Highlands, the fields basically turn to permafrost. You can't play on them. So they take a 2-week break. It's going to be cold. It's going to be bitter. A lot of times, let's say, Cali's down in championship right now, but Inverness Caledonian Thistle gets up there. The damn field's on the edge of a lock. You got water coming off the lock. It's cold. It's windy. It's tough. It's bitter. And it takes a lot of pride in the physical demands of it. You still are. You've got situations right now like Olsen Edouard, who's striker at Celtic, is probably going to demand an obscene amount of money. Had a hat trick in the first weekend. He's probably going to get a big chunk of change. But for every one of those, you're still going to have guys like Scott Brown, who is going to always be a talisman because he is just a physically insane human being who is going to try and remove as many of your legs as possible. But then when you tackle him, he's going to stand up and laugh and scream and dance around about getting, possibly red card tackled or getting punched in the face. He's just going to laugh about it and laugh in your face about it because he's not mentally well. None of them are. I think it's technically becoming more proficient. You get good wing backs, you can cause some problems. You get, Celtic does this last year where, they get railroaded by Rangers, at the end of 2019, switch formation going into 2020 and, start letting guys on the outside really run free and take more responsibility up and down the field with wingback roles instead of traditional fullbacks and cause all sorts of havoc. So, if you've got that technicality and that speed, you can cause a lot of problems. But it's also a league where I think if you compare it to MLS, you're looking at a situation where the highs and the lows are more extreme and the middle ground isn't as good. Okay. I think you could put Celtic and Rangers up against a lot of teams in MLS and get a damn good match. And I think more often than not, you probably have the Scottish League teams coming out on top. I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of money they're able to spend. They're not hindered by an MLS-style salary cap. Now, would they win every game? Sure, surely not. If you matched them up over and over again. But I think at the bottom of that pile, the lower level Scottish teams, not going to be as good as your lower level MLS teams, Vancouver notwithstanding, because Vancouver is just a tire fire. But I think the middle ground, MLS is going to be so much stronger if you're asking mid-tier MLS teams, even upper mid-tier MLS teams, to go up against an Aberdeen, a Livingston, Hamilton Academical, Motherwell, even Rangers. And Rangers is getting into that vein that, Nick touched on a minute ago where, Steven Gerrard's got them playing where they're still in Europe, y'all. They're in the round of 16, the Europa League. They got to play, I believe, Leverkusen or Borussia Mönchengladbach, a German team, one of the German teams. But they're still in Europe, and the way he's got them playing fits for that, where he doesn't really necessarily want to carry play. He wants to hit on the counter because they built that team so well to absorb pressure, come out when they need to, and to counter and kind of play with that underdog mentality. But you get so many clubs in Scotland who just don't want to come out and play against Rangers or Celtic, and they want to sit back, draw you into the game, let you get too far forward, and then pop you on the counter like teams did with Atlanta United in 2018, where they had to learn to break them down. So as much as technicality is improving, especially with teams like Celtic and Rangers, as they're getting better at having to, in the modern game, break teams down more, it's still a league that defines itself on that physicality, and you're going to see a lot of pride in that physicality.
Yeah, Michael Ruiz was asking how Atlanta United would compete with Celtic and Rangers, but you answered that. I think Celtic would be, among the best teams in MLS, and the best MLS teams would be able to compete with them. Very different styles, so it'd be interesting to see in a competitive match. Rangers would be right there too.
I think
step below that, it's a little different.
I think it's my favorite theoretical. If you did like ACC versus Big Ten, you do in college basketball every season, Scottish League versus MLS is probably my favorite one to compare it to, just because there's such a wide range to choose from.
Yeah, it feels very, very top-heavy. I mean, other leagues are top-heavy, but this one, the cliff falls off, once you get below. Something we're going to be doing this year, and I think Jarrett's going to be the first one to start, because the team that he's going to be talking about is playing now. The rest are not. We're going to do little mini pods, about 10 minutes weekly, kind of as a recap or as a preview. We've each got a team that we're going to follow in the upcoming season. Jarrett, not surprisingly, picked Celtic. They won their first match of the season this weekend. You going to drop that this week, Jarrett?
Yeah, that's the game plan. Okay. Also, do we want to? Do you mind if I give a plug for our friends across the Atlantic?
You can give all the plugs you want, Jarrett.
Okay. Shout out to the guys over at Here We Go Aberdeen, who it's a podcast that you can find on your podcatcher of choice. I think, Jason, you were on with them at one point.
Yeah, those are good guys. They reached out once the partnership was arranged with Atlanta United.
Yeah, okay, cool. I wanted to confirm that before I threw it out there, but they do an Aberdeen podcast, and usually it's longer episodes, but since it's closed door in Scotland right now as they're starting to play, they're doing little 10-minute hits. That's an idea of what you're going to expect with these. It's not going to be an hour-long deep dive tactical review. It's going to be hey, here's what happened. Here's maybe a couple words of review about it. Here's what you can take away from it and look forward to. So I know some Atlanta fans latched onto Aberdeen after everything that happened with the partnership. If you want to get more on Aberdeen, and especially from people who know a lot more about Aberdeen and are ingrained in that culture and that team, Here We Go Aberdeen's a good place to start there.
Yeah, those guys are great. So you're going to be doing a version on Celtic, kind of like that. So, a weekly update on everything going on in the land of Celtic. Nick, who are you doing? Milan, I guess. It's a little different than we thought with no Ralph. So you're going to have a little bit different story to tell.
Yeah,
it's going to be. So looking forward to that.
I know that was the whole idea. Was I want to hear Nick learn about pressing during the season, but you're going to get to talk about Zlatan all year, maybe.
Well, no. When the rumors of Rangnick to Milan first started, I immediately went and started deep diving on every book that I could get my hands on regarding the press from Dynamo Kiev through Rangnick and his philosophies, and I was learning about his shot clock training, where what Rangnick does is if you lose the ball, you have 8 seconds to recover, and it's an audible. There's an audible ticking.
Oh wow!
On training, so the players have to hear this tick, 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 because he wants them to get into the mental idea of this is how long it takes. This is 8 seconds. Get the ball back. Now you have 10 seconds to put the ball on frame. Go. And so I was learning all this, and then of course it disintegrates, and now I'm like, okay, I'm having to go back to the bread and butter of Italian tactics. So we're good.
That'll still be fun though. I mean, to follow a Milan team that's trying to get to that next level.
Right.
John's team tried to get to the next level. It kind of fizzled in the playoffs a little bit.
Hey, I'll take great run. I'll take it. Swansea. We're gonna. So I will actually say it right now. Colonel El Mataflow.
Yeah, we've got Swansea followers in the SDH universe.
Yep, and it's
Multiple.
hey, you got to keep me honest all season long about what you think you see. So that's there will be backgrounders available for the Swansea weekly hits.
Okay.
Now, hold on, John. Did Swansea made you believe though for a minute, didn't they? Did Swansea make you believe that they were
in the first leg? Yes, I figured with one of the key midfielders for Brentford out for the second leg, I thought that they had a chance, but they didn't survive the first 20 minutes of the match and gave up 2 quick ones, and then it was like.
But that's the thing, is that for the first time, between Milan, Swans, there was belief at the end, even if it was a fleeting moment.
Oh yeah,
there was belief.
Had a couple days to sit there and bask in the 1-0 from home, but yeah, got absolutely just destroyed in that first quarter of the match, and there was no coming back. Even though they did score late and lost 3-2 on aggregate, but hey, great run, snuck into the playoffs as the 6, and made some noise. And hey, that's what it's there for. But when we talk about the championship. I was talking to Jason about Brentford and Fulham, and I'm actually pulling for Brentford in this one. It'd be the first time that they would be in the top flight in 73 years.
Why are you pulling for Brentford?
Because of their no blankhead policy from their manager.
Huh?
It's okay. So here's the philosophy that Brentford has installed. Brentford has installed basically Moneyball. They do a lot of analytics to get the players as a part of their roster. But the head coach, Thomas Frank, has what he refers to as a no D-head policy.
Cassidy does not like the Brentford manager.
Why not?
I don't know.
Cassidy, why don't you like Thomas Frank? I just like the notion of there not being a no D-head policy. That's what I like.
But what define me that? In the world of soccer, define me what that is, because the sport's littered with them.
Oh, I know.
That's true.
So I mean, that's the thing, is that I'd like to know what the no D-head policy is, but I like the idea of no D-heads on my team.
When I worked for Tampa Bay, I did not like being around Keyshawn Johnson, because Keyshawn Johnson was a jerk and a
just
D-head.
Give me the damn sandwich.
To everyone in his general orbit. But at the same time, I loved that man on the field because he did what he needed to do.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing with Warren Sapp. I could not stand Warren Sapp.
What?
Could not. I watched Warren Sapp like 4 games in a row walk by a line of little kids and not sign anything. And Mike Allstott, by the way, signed everything. Rondé Barber signed everything. I'm trying to think of who else. Warwick Dunn signed anything that you would put in front of him twice.
No doubt.
But I was really A-okay with Warren Sapp on the field. You need those D-heads on the field if you want to win. Milan with Zlatan, prime example.
Yeah, you're getting shouted down, John, in the Twitch.
All right, so here's the basis for it. I guess since I enjoy AEW, maybe I should root for Tony Khan and Fulham to come back in. But here, an article from FoxSports.com in Australia. Here's their philosophy. Team building from Thomas Frank is based on the All Blacks and his willingness to encourage his players to think outside the box. And if his players do not succeed, maybe he will pinch them, according to this particular article.
He'll do what?
Yeah, apparently when they don't do well, he pinches his players.
He lost your mind. You're not touching me like that.
He pinches them?
Mm-mm.
Apparently so.
No.
He pinches
This is how people get assaulted.
Somewhere.
This is how people get assaulted.
He pinches grown men who play for him.
Apparently so. Brentford got rid of their academy, and what they do is analytics in bringing in players. Transfer recruitment is based on data analysis of players and their suitability to fit the club's system of playing.
Do they like to be pinched?
That is not in this article. I cannot give you an informed opinion.
I'm just letting you know, you pinch me, you're getting choked out.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I don't punch you in the face, because I'm not going to cave your face in, because, everybody's on Zoom meetings, and I don't want you having to do a Zoom meeting with a caved-in face, but I'm going to choke you out if you pinch me, especially in COVID world.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
And then he pinches you.
The name's Dalton.
and he just pinches you. That's you have swayed me to Fulham, and I was probably going to pick Fulham anyway. But I'm not rooting for the manager who's pinching his players. Not doing it.
No.
And Kefsey says he tries to take the ball from players when they're trying to throw it in, and he gets them carded. I have to study this one too. But if he's pinching guys, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I don't like the disillusion of the academy. I think that you have to have kids who believe, no matter how remote, you have to give kids the dream that they can represent their hometown team.
But what he does do, apparently, they have a Brentford B team with 16 to 20-year-olds who travel Europe playing friendlies against professional clubs in the same style that the first team does.
That part's great. That's good stuff. The Moneyball stuff, that's good stuff. You're not pinching me, first off. And as Katie Weaver says, I'd like to speak to HR, please. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Does he pinch them until they say uncle is Shooter's question, and I don't know, maybe, probably. Yeah.
Do you have to get a cooties shot, I wonder? Do you have to get a cooties vaccination, maybe?
He pinches
It's like on the Water Boy when he runs up, when Adam Sandler's character, Bobby Boucher, runs up and double drop kicks that dude in the end zone. That's exactly what would happen if that man put hands on me like that. I would run up full speed, lift up with every, because here's the thing, believe it or not, I can jump a little bit, believe it or not. And put my full 156-pound frame like a little cannonball right into your chest and just cave it in if you try to pinch me like that.
What is it? The legs are 4 times stronger than the arms? Is that?
We're going to find out.
Sounds about right.
As they say on the Twitterverse, F around and find out. Because you pinch me, you're going to find out.
That's true. All right. Y'all ready for a new segment?
Yep.
It's got a theme song.
Uh-oh.
1990. Spaghetti.
I don't know why this is the theme song. It's not what I thought it was.
Mamma mia.
That's not the theme song I wanted, but it's kind of funny.
I'm going to HR.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Aquaman.
I'm going to HR.
Man, I should have used that for the Italy segment. Man,
when did we get an HR department?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I got a Jericho list for HR department.
Hey, wait a minute. That's not cool. I don't know what that could be.
It's not your fault.
I'm just waiting for Aquaman to come chiming into that segment now.
Man, that is not the one it was supposed to be, but it just doesn't work. I don't have anything else to work with. We'll just do this for right now. I'm totally using the Mario one again, though. That is awesome.
Oh.
That is awesome.
Sei nella lista, Jason.
Awesome. It's awesome. We have good news in the Nicholas Bentner universe.
Oh, Mondays with Bentner.
All right.
It could be the first time in his nearly 10 years as a business owner. He has a business.
That he turned a profit?
Yep. He has a business that is known, and this is Danish, Selskabet NB. It's a lot of letters and things. I think Selskabet's what we'll go with.
Sure.
Yeah. The main activity of Selskabet is the operation of marketing, event, and profiling activities, etc. This is all translated from Danish, so please, there's going to be a little bit of crossover here. Look back at some previous years for Selskabet, and 2012 lost 2.2 million kroners. I don't know what kroners translate to dollars these days. John might have that in about 10 minutes. 2013, 2.3 million kroners. 2014 lost 2.7 million kroners. It turned a slight profit in 15 and 18.
Write-off for him.
2019, 2.1 million kroners to the good. Now, he had his book published in 2019. It did really well. He did a bunch of commercials for the car brand Opel or Opel. Is it Opel?
Opel.
Opel. Okay. He's got his reality show, of course, which everybody's excited about. From the time it was, I guess they changed the name. Yeah, he did change the name. That's what it was. He originally started it as NB Jewelry and he sold jewelry, watches, and gold and silver goods. And that's where a lot of the losses piled up from. Lost a total of 7 million
kroner.
kroner.
About 6 kroners, by the way.
Yeah,
$1.06
at 2.3 million krona, he lost a little over $363,000.
So he lost 7 million krona in his jewelry days. So he's trying to make that back, and that's why he's doing a reality show. He is talking about buying a what did his reality show girlfriend Feline say about it? Because I saw this one.
God.
Feline said he's insane for planning to buy a 300,000 pound Rolls Royce while he is unemployed. He is brainless and insane.
Oh, there you go. 7 million krona is a little over
girlfriend saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Girlfriend, it's like girlfriend, agent, broker.
Co-star in the reality show. I mean, it's all part of the gimmick at this point.
It's an absolute work.
Yeah, it's all part of it. Yeah, he flew to Germany to discuss a deal for a Rolls-Royce Black Badge Wraith, seen by many as the ultimate supercar.
Good for you.
And he's not playing anywhere.
Okay.
But the big news out of his show, and maybe I need to update my list over here. He says he wants to go into management. He wants to be a manager. God. Bentner in charge of
not
your
enough
club.
Cocaine in the world to let me hire Nicholas Bentner as a manager.
Tell you what he would do. Here's what Bentner would do. Bentner would buy his own team.
Yep.
In like one of the massive lower divisions.
Better sell some more books.
And then what he'll do is in buying that team, he becomes its manager and its owner, and you have an entirely new season or 2 or 3 of the reality show.
Yep. And then he's going to get busted because he goes to Monaco and starts betting against his own team.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So
That's
this is
the
like
next step.
This is like a Danish version where you've taken a little bit of Mike Piazza and Italy soccer mixed with Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Because he would own and manage the team himself. He'd probably run his own. Given everything we've heard now, he probably would also run the merchandising.
Oh, of course.
And
There'd be jewelry with it.
And this is where he gets to sell his jewelry all over again. He sells the jewelry on site on game day.
Yeah.
He's gonna have the ultras. He's gonna have the ultras setting up his jewelry booths outside the stadium.
Jewelry kiosks in the hall. Yeah, you're going to have jewelry kiosks on the concourse. It's like you're going to have concessions, jewelry, clothing, book, the whole thing. It's going to be FC Bentner.
It's going to be like Spaceballs, the T-shirt. It's going to be Bentner, the T-shirt. Bentner, the slushy machine. Bentner the jewelry.
He's going to cook the books, like selling to the
is.
advertiser, who is him. He's going to cook the books to himself, cut himself checks to try and make money move around.
Of course.
This is going to be amazing.
This is why it needs to be in some place like Monaco or Andorra or somewhere that's a tax haven. That would be perfect if he could find a tax haven to do it.
Out of
probably
Europe,
should have already set that business up there, but he failed that test. So yeah.
He needs to get out of Europe because the Spanish tax man is.
Oh
the
yeah.
Spanish tax man could find Batman.
Yeah.
The Spanish tax man does not care. If we had put the Spanish tax man on Bin Laden, like
it's true.
On October 1, we would have found him by the end of the month. The Spanish tax man finds everyone.
That's accurate.
Couple things from Twitter. Nathan Pugh, Klopp's the best up the Reds, John, that is all. And there was a decent article on the 4-letter where Lewandowski was interviewed about Klopp and said some really good things about he's a great coach and a great father, I think was how it was phrased by Lewandowski, how he can do both at the same time. The Colonel is volunteering to spin off from the Swansea help. And he says he'll report on Dundalk in the Premier Division of the League of Irish Football. He says it may not sound PC, but up the town, come on, you lily-whites. And then the Colonel also says, Thomas Franks is crap, but Brentford is a real deal Cinderella.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask anybody who is taking up the Colonel's idea here. So soccer over there is 7 o'clock Mondays from here till who knows when. That's what's going to happen. So if you want us to talk about your club, and it can be as obscure as you want it to be.
Oh, yes.
Send us an email. Send us the information. You can send a direct message, whatever's easier for you, ahead of the show so we can include it in our roundup. And we will have a roundup of all your favorite clubs. Just give us a couple bullet points, how the last game went, what's coming up, what to look for, et cetera, how we can watch if people get hooked. That's been one of the cool things about these kinds of discussions, and that was part of the idea was, okay, you're going to hear about Celtic on a regular basis. You might chime into the Celtic TV. Hopefully they actually get a TV deal here at some point. You're not having to pay $300 for the season. Come on, Scotland, get this together. But they probably aren't answering their emails anyway. No. You've got Milan you can watch on ESPN+. So you can watch Milan. You'll know a little bit extra about it. You're not doing anything on a Saturday morning. Milan's on. Cool, you're going to watch. You're going to know more about it. You might watch Swansea when they're on championship games since they didn't get to the Premier League. Sorry, guys. Or you can get iFollow, I think, and watch all of the Swansea games, the ones that ESPN Plus doesn't pick up. I'm going to do one that goes to our friends with Fanatis, and I'm kind of in limbo until we know a little bit more, so I might drop some just basic South American stuff. But I'm going to talk about our favorite club out of Argentina, Defensa Justicia. Yes, that's who I'm going to be covering in those 10-minute nuggets each week. So right now, the update on Defensa is we don't know when teams are going to be allowed to train in Argentina. We're waiting on the government to allow that to happen. Things in Buenos Aires with the coronavirus are not good. Teams do have Copa Libertadores games and Copa Sudamericana games scheduled here coming up in the next month. So the teams that are playing there probably need to train at some point here. So there's a lot of powwowing going on in Argentina about what that looks like. In terms of the league was stopped. The Copa de la Superliga was stopped. There's been talk about doing some kind of made-up tournament because Argentina is really good at these things for the rest of the calendar year. And the new league season, which they're changing the Superliga name, it's going to be under a whole different name because, again, Argentina is good at these things. Same thing, just they're not relegating teams, and it's going to be a league that's bigger than it was, but they're not calling it the Superliga, but it's the same people running it because, again, Argentina's good at confusing all of us. Defense is going to be playing in that. We just don't know when that starts, probably in the next calendar year. But they're going to be in Libertadores if they get to play Libertadores again. So, yeah, that's the South American update. Meh.
Yeah, but... Yeah, so that's going to be fun. And obviously I'm still going to be keeping an eye on Aberdeen. I'll be wearing the gear probably every Friday. I'll wear my rotated Aberdeen material, and we'll be keeping an eye on that stuff too. And
I'm sure on the show we'll probably be having regular conversations about Leeds and Bielsa just because it's going to be so interesting in the Premier League this year. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yes.
Point of order, I want another Bielsa masterclass PowerPoint presentation with like an 8th grade school overhead thing where he's like, next slide, please. And the person like slides the film like right over and like, this is the 474 crosses from the third string left winger that we deeply scouted to no end.
Awesome.
Knowing that he'll never play, but we still scouted him nonetheless. I want more of those classes because that was amazing.
I'm in on this. I like it.
I'm for it.
Can we talk a moment about being happy in life with your decisions? Can we talk about that for a moment?
Because an interesting one. Okay.
Antonio Conte doesn't seem to be happy with anything that he's doing. There's reports that he wants, according to Sempre Inter, he wants to flush out certain executives at the club, and he is trying to. He's threatening to walk. They're going to give it to the. I want to say the Europa League games that they have coming up. Whether or not he's going to stay, and that's between the club and Conte. So. I mean, it looked for a moment like Conte sort of had Serie A ready to go. It was Lazio, Inter, and Juve at the top, and of course he bungled it, and he's blaming the players. I don't have the players to get the job done. If you can't get it done with Inter, these players, and you want to go, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go that has the money that Inter has right now? Only Juve has that kind of money in Serie A. And they seem to be fairly happy with Maurizio Sarri.
PSG when that job opens.
You don't want Antonio Conte at PSG, man.
No, I don't. It'd be a club where he could do what he wanted.
I mean, he could do what he wanted. Oh, my God. I can't imagine Neymar and Mbappe.
Yeah, that's true.
I cannot imagine Mbappe under – that would be a crime. That'd be a war crime to have Antonio Conte managing Mbappe. That would be terrible.
Speaking of which,
poor guy.
Can we workshop who the worst managers for Neymar would be?
Yeah.
We don't have to do it right now. We can do it later. But
yeah, I got to think on that one for a minute. Go ahead and chime in the Twitch chat and on Twitter if you've got takes on that one. I'd like to hear them. Byrne pulled the numbers from Serie A about distance covered because Byrne is a dynamo when it comes to the stats. Inter covered the most ground in Serie A.
Mm-hmm.
Juve was 6th in Sarri ball. Milan was behind them. I'm not sure where they ranked. They were 107 kilometers. Juve was 6th at 108.7. Torino was the last. They were the team that covered the least. Bunker counter kind of team.
Yeah. They were no good.
Yeah.
They were terrible. That's why they're bringing in Marco Giampaolo because they're trying to open things up.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know if they're going to have the budget to do it, but I think he's a manager who probably needs to be to have that underdog status where he can sort of just jump in and, hey, the whole world's against us, come on. And he wants to resurrect Grande Torino. Believe it or not, that's a job that I think a lot of Italian managers want, would be to resurrect Grande Torino and see if they can make that happen. But because ever since the Superga air disaster, they have not been the same. So anybody who can make that work, good for them. But as far as Milan goes, when Pioli took over, we talked about this last week. He ran like the WM, which hasn't been seen since like the 50s. Because he was like, I'm not getting any new players, so I have to figure out what in God's name is going to work. So I'm just going to throw everything against the wall. The WM, and he finally settled on a formation that worked. But at the end of the day, I'm not shocked at that total for Milan.
Okay, Champions League returns on Friday.
Yes.
This is craziness. The second legs of the round of 16, there's 4 of them. 2 on Friday at 3 o'clock, 2 on Saturday at 3 o'clock. John, I'm going to need juice box numbers on this. And we will start with the Friday games. We will start with Juve and Lyon. Lyon leading 1-0 coming into the second leg. This is going to be hosted by Juventus. Lyon has played 1 time since March. That was on Friday in the French League Cup final. They lost on penalties to PSG. Scoreless draw, went to penalties. They lost it. Lyon captain Memphis Depay is back. He had a knee injury. He played on Friday against PSG. The question for Juve is Dybala. He sat out the last 2 league matches. There's hope he'll be able to play. And according to some reports I've read, Sarri would like to have Dybala and Ronaldo up top together.
Mm.
Does Juve overturn the 1-0 deficit in this match? Nick?
Yes, absolutely. Juve is not going to just make that. I'd say the final score on this will be like 2-0. I'll say 2-0 Juve, and it's going to be a comfortable 2-0. They could probably go for 3, and they're going to end up just keeping it at 2.
Jarrett, thoughts? Juve, Lyon.
I actually just had a conversation with someone the other day about Juve, who is from Eastern Europe. And we were talking about Juve. He's like, Juve, they will never win the big one. So I'm just going to stick with my new Albanian friend.
No, they won't.
So they're going to lose to Lyon?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No respect for our friend Sarri. I mean, he's only going to smoke like 5 packs of cigarettes during the match. So, we got to get that guy through.
What's he going to do in the second half?
That's a good point. That's a good point. John, what are you thinking here?
No, I'm thinking that Juve overturns it. Juice box numbers in the aggregate, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Juve to win the match, -222. Guess what Lyon is to win the match?
To win the match, and that would put them through, but it's specifically the match, okay?
Specifically the match.
Plus 500.
Close. Plus 643 in the aggregate.
Yeah, I ain't touching it. It's tempting, but I ain't touching it. One competitive match. We've seen it. All these leagues that have come back, it takes time to get your feet underneath you. You've played one time, and you're going to go in to face a team that has been playing. You're going to get smoked. Literally by Saudi. You're going to get smoked 3-0, and it could be worse. So, yeah, Juve goes through. I don't even think it's going to be much of a match. The one that I do think is going to be a match is the other game on Friday. Manchester City hosting Real Madrid. City leads 2-1. They won 2-1 in Madrid back in February. Since then, Madrid has won 11 of 13 matches. City at home has only conceded 1 goal in their last 7. Arsene Wenger said that there are 2 clubs that should be considered the favorites for this year's Champions League. PSG and Manchester City. Arsene might be tipping a couple back a little bit. Just saying. Yeah. But
might be having more of the smokes and shedding them with Conte.
Yes, a little bit of brandy or something. But a couple things here. Sergio Aguero for Manchester City. Who's going to start up top? Is it going to be Raheem Sterling starting up top and being very mobile? Is it going to be Gabriel Jesus up top? Very different kind of forward than Sterling. We'll see what that looks like. One of the reasons why that's a big question is no Sergio Ramos for this game. He got red carded in the first leg. Eder Militao will likely be the one who replaces him. He's a Brazilian international, joined Madrid last summer from Porto. He's talked himself up very big. He says, Ramos isn't here, but I am here. So, okay,
hello.
We'll see. City has a question, too, and this has been a question all year, is who's going to partner with Laporte in the back line. Eric Garcia has been the guy who's played mostly after the layoff. You could see Fernandinho there. The lineups are going to be really interesting here. There's some talk out of Madrid that Zidane's going to go with 3 up top and really just run and gun and try to go for this thing from the jump. This could go so many different directions. Nick, what do you think? City and Madrid. City's got the 2-1 lead.
All right. So with Man City, their questions up top have been nullified in my mind with the absence of Ramos, because he is, whether you love him or hate him, and I hate the guy, he's a game changer under the spotlights. When the lights shine brightest, Ramos has no problem fouling you, hurting you, and getting away with it. And so he's not going to be in this game, though. And as a result of that, I'm going to have to take Man City to finish the job. And I'm going to say that it's going to be Man City. It's going to be Man City 2. What's the current score?
2-1 coming in.
Huh?
2-1 coming in for City.
Okay, I'll say I'm gonna repeat that. I'm gonna say it's gonna be 2-1 for Manchester City, and it's going to but I'm gonna say Real Madrid scores first.
Okay.
Ooh. So I'll say Real Madrid scores first. Pep makes the adjustments. City scores 2. Real Madrid's out.
Ooh, okay. Jarrett, what do you think?
Give me City actually 1-0. Give me Real Madrid just going for it from the jump. City surviving for a bit, hitting out on the counter in the first half, and just taking the wind out of Real Madrid's sails as they've tried to empty the tank just to get this thing back to where it needs to be score wise. And then City just, it's rude to say park the bus here, but they just kind of shut it down. And Real Madrid goes through a little bit of demoralization of giving up that goal, having nothing to show for it after emptying the tank.
John, what about you? What are the numbers looking like?
Numbers are looking like Manchester City to win the match at -141, Real Madrid to win the match plus 326.
That one's a little tempting because it's Real Madrid.
Yeah. But I think Manchester City wins this one 2-1 as well. And to give you the numbers for the next one, because my sister is getting married in 13 minutes.
Well, okay.
Well,
hold that thought for a second. Let's Bayern Munich Chelsea. Do we need to spend much time on it? It's 3-0 to Bayern. Chelsea's missing 9 players.
No.
Like 9 players. Frank Lampard might.
They're going to get ready for the Premier League season in 5 weeks.
Yeah, that one's a blowout. Barca and Napoli. Give us the numbers, John, and then leave us.
Barcelona in the aggregate minus 154 to win the match. Napoli to win the match plus 425.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, think on that one.
Your 90 minutes draw option is at plus 309. The boss and I are going to go raise a glass. My sister is getting married. It is a story that I will give you as the lead tomorrow on SDH.
Shooter's telling you to put on a tux, or at least a T-shirt tux.
I wish I had a T-shirt tux. That'd be epic. But yeah, we are going to raise a glass from one end of the country to the other. It is a story for the ages, and I'll tell it to you guys tomorrow morning on SDH. Be good, y'all. Mucha Plata.
That's a good tease.
It is a good tease. I try anyway. So be
good.
good, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow morning. And Atalanta plus 190, PSG plus 129, and RB Leipzig and Atletico Madrid is next week. So we'll see you. We'll see you in the morning.
All right, give us good shot so you can then disconnect. So everybody's happy to see your like State Farm face. Not that one. That was scary. Now got to hit disconnect when you got the right face. I think we got it. Yes. Okay, everybody's happy. Good stuff. That was a good running joke one of these times. All right, so City and Madrid. I think it comes down to this. City has something to prove, and Madrid has something to prove. They love the Champions League. They won it so many times. But City needs this. I mean, needs this. I think they find a way through. Losing Ramos is going to take the heart out of Madrid. Militao's a good player. Kessie's a big fan. But I think City's got too much. So they're going to find a way through. I think they win. I actually like the 2-1 score, so I'm going to stick with that with City over Madrid. Munich and Chelsea.
I guarantee you that Manchester City's higher-ups are meeting with Pep, and they're saying, after everything that's taken place, we want maximum full throttle, kill them all, because they told us that we weren't going to be able to be in the Champions League. Now we're going to win it and shove it in their faces. Mm-hmm. Going forward, look for blank U goals from Man City.
Yes.
Just look for it. That any way that they can to dominate a match, watch for the blank U performances from Man City.
All right, so Bayern Munich and Chelsea. Pulisic's out. Azpilicueta probably out. I don't think that's been confirmed yet. Pedro probably out. Jorginho and Marcos Alonso suspended. And N'Golo Kante is not 100%. Could be missing 9 in total. They're down 3-0. They have to go to Germany. I mean, it's done, right? There's no point.
I mean, don't even put money on this because you can't even predict what Bayern's going to do. They might not just don't even put money. You put money on Bayern winning, but don't try and guess goals on this one because there's no way to predict if they're going to get a goal and be like, yeah, we're fine, we're going home.
So then here's what we're going to do is we're going to predict that. What number does Bayern end up with at the end of the day, Jarrett?
2.
You think
they get
2?
One early to kill all doubt, and they get one in the middle of the game just because Chelsea has given up on its entire existence, and for at least for the next 90 minutes. And then the rest of it is just basically passing drills.
2 feels like a very efficient Bayern Munich performance. I actually kind of like that. Nick, 2? More than 2? Less than 2?
More than 2.
You think they're going to be mean? Just ruthless?
More than 2. Yeah, don't be surprised if it gets 3 or 4. What does Chelsea have to do here? Really?
Oh, they got nothing.
No.
I think it's going to be 1 just because Munich hasn't played in a long time. I think it's a training exercise for them. I wouldn't be surprised if it finishes 1-1. Something weird like that, because Munich has nothing to play for except just getting some sharpness back. I think they're looking at it as a training exercise. Because how long has it been since Bayern Munich played? About a month, right?
Right about, maybe.
Yeah, and they need to get the training in. So there's things they need to work on here. I think they're going to be more worried about that than the score line. Barca and Napoli. Oh, go ahead.
Which means that they're not going to be dialing it back. I think if they...
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I think to your point, this is either going to be completely wide open or it's going to be like just completely muffled. It's going to be one of the two, nothing in between.
I'm voting muffled because of that layoff and because of Chelsea just not having much to do here. So
right. The
other game on Saturday is fascinating to me. Barcelona-Napoli. It's 1-1. Second leg's in Spain. Napoli has a big question mark about Insigne. 12 goals, 8 assists in all competitions on the year. Had a tendon injury. He's doubtful for Saturday. That is not what our buddy Gattuso wanted to hear. Nope. Barca, according to Spanish reports, Quique Setién came in and talked about playing a 3-5-2, and it didn't go over very well. And now there's talk that they're training in a 4-3-1-2, basically Messi with 3 guys behind and kind of a diamond to protect him. And now that's got people interested, and now they're engaged a little bit. Not a surprise if you've been paying attention to the Barcelona soap opera. As good as the Tottenham Amazon Prime series is going to be, I wish we had one for Barcelona this season, because it would be amazing. I wonder if Lionel Messi would take a big hit PR-wise, though. That's kind of the sense that I'm getting. Although he might be justified in it. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
God, I don't care. That'd be worth it just to watch all this unfold.
It would be amazing. And all of that is the backdrop. It's kind of like you got two different things that could go down for Barca. And I don't know. Manchester City's desperate. They need to win the Champions League. I think that's going to drive them forward. I think they're mentally strong to do that. Barcelona, I don't know if they're mentally strong. And they're feeling this pressure. And Setién might be gone in a couple of weeks. He might be gone after the match on Saturday if it doesn't go well. And Napoli, this is kind of the classic match for Gattuso, isn't it? Just come in and grind.
Mm-hmm. It is. And look, Barcelona, it's one of those teams where we talk about the gravity of success, where your success is so amazing, it is so stratospheric that nothing can escape it. Forever and always, you are considered like you're tied to that. And we still have players who were a part of that amazing run. But at the same time, you're talking about a team that rumors are that they're going to bring in Pochettino.
I'm skeptical of that. I'm very, very skeptical of that.
So let's for a moment, let's keep his name there and be skeptical. But how far has this team fallen from their heyday, from the glory days of La Masia, this pipeline of incredible talent that Pep nurtured and raised, and they flourished, and I feel like it's been a slow, steady decay for this team because they have lost who they are. They keep trying to sign these Galacticos players, and it's not them. It's not them. I'm almost knocking over the microphone because I'm so angry with this. Like, you've gotten so far away from who you are. Why? You're trying to keep up with. It's like, hey, it's like the Jedi being like, hey guys, look, if we just randomly kill about 40 or 50 people, maybe we can keep up with the dark side, huh? You're giving over, like you're just giving in to the bad guys' mentality. I just don't think that. I think there's so much dysfunction within this side. If the manager came after reviewing tapes and reviewing, endless material and said, look, guys, I think we need to run a 3-5-2. We're going to stifle these guys. We're going to get them out of here. And the team's like, bleh! That just tells me that there's major dysfunction in that locker room. And I don't know how many more times Messi will be able to pull magic out of his hat and save these guys. It's going to happen someday. and people can yell and scream, and the comment sections can blow up, and I can get canceled, whatever, for questioning the lowercase god Messi. At some point, the ball fails to land correctly. At some point, the pass does not connect. At some point, things don't go your way. And it can be a manager like Gattuso who believes in bringing a sledgehammer to a knife fight and knows how to gum up the works. This is a trap game to me. This game screams trap to me.
I'm right there with you. And here's the thing that I didn't realize. In Serie A, the team that led in possession and most passes, Napoli. Napoli was the team that dominated possession.
Right.
Now, were they using it at times in a defensive stance? Yeah, that's okay. I mean, Gattuso had a lot of work to do when he came in. But this is also a team that in the group stage went to Liverpool and got a result. They're not going to be afraid of going to Barcelona in this.
No.
They've won the Coppa Italia. They are back in Europe next year, right now in the Europa League. Mm-hmm. I think they can get the result they need. It's 1-1 going in. If they win, they go through. If it's a draw at 1-1, I'm actually going to have to double-check this. I think the normal rules apply at this point. I don't think anything changes until you get to the single-game quarterfinal, semifinal, final. So if it's 1-1, it would go to extra time. If Napoli can find 2 goals, then they're golden. If it's a draw or a win with 2 goals, they're golden. And I don't know if they would lose if they got 2 goals. I just don't see that out of a Gattuso team.
Right. No, and if you read any of the headlines around Napoli, the players want to stay. They believe in the project. They believe in the man, which is huge. Because fundamentally, while the talent level, like if you were to rank this in FIFA, because that seems to be the golden standard for everybody, how does this play out on FIFA or Football Manager? Obviously, Barcelona is the 5-star team. Napoli maybe 4 stars, 4.5, whatever you want to call it. But in the real world, these players for Napoli believe in Gattuso. Even if a majority of the pundits don't, that locker room believes in Gattuso. And if you don't think the entire plane ride or bus ride there, Gattuso's not going to be like threatening to stab people with a fork or whatever it takes to get him fired up.
He might be stabbing people with forks.
Completely on fire. And that's going to be something that is going to shock them. I have no problems calling this a trap game. I would not put any money on this game if you are that sort of person who does that.
It's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. They asked Gattuso about Messi and how to deal with Messi. He told reporters after the win against Lazio on the weekend, he said, "I can mark Messi only in my dreams. Or if I set Napoli versus Barcelona on my son's PlayStation, trying to catch him there when I played for Milan with 10 to 15 kilograms less than today." He's got something up his sleeve, though. He's going to have a plan to nullify that. And that's the thing about Barca is if you can nullify or at least limit Messi, who is it? Like, you thought it would be Griezmann. He might not start.
Right.
If they go the 4-3-1-2, he won't start. It'll be Suarez and Messi up top. If they go the 3-5-2, it's definitely that. If they go the 4-3-1-2, it could be Suarez and Griezmann up top. But, I mean, he's been all over the map. And I don't know if you can count on him. Suarez needs the service. So it's just, I think Napoli can get through here. I'm not. I'm with you. I'm not putting a dime on it.
No.
But I think Napoli can find a way through. I'm totally bought in on Gattuso and Napoli.
Right. And look, Messi's an act of God. We get it. Like I'm not saying anything negative about Messi other than the fact that the man's human and he's aging like the rest of us. But the thing about Messi is that he still possesses moments where he will make you question the laws of physics and the reality around you. The guy has an infinity stone like locked into his arm. I get it. I understand. But Gattuso will beat up everyone. He will have his team beat up everyone around Messi to make it to where when they try to provide Messi with service, they're second-guessing that pass. They're second-guessing holding that ball for that extra moment because somebody like Koulibaly will come in and clean you out and not get carded for it. So, no, don't put any money on this game. I'm telling you, this is a dangerous game to be playing around with.
Now, this is the Maradona Derby, though.
It is.
It's kind of special, and I got something just in time for this. So, check that out. Check that out, Nick.
You're such a fanboy.
Check this
I love
out.
it.
I got a starting lineup, Italian starting lineup figure of Napoli and Diego Maradona. It was $3.99 at Play Company back in the day.
Do I want to know what it costs now?
No, it wasn't much. I got a good deal on it. Yeah, it wasn't much at all.
Original Italian packaging?
Yeah, it's Italian packaging. It was made in Milano.
Wow.
Tonka. That's Kinner. You could have gotten from Milan in this same series. You could have gotten Carlo Ancelotti, Roberto Donadoni, Marco Van Basten, Ruud Gullit, Franco Baresi, Paolo Maldini, or Franklin Rijkaard.
Franklin
Rijkaard.
Going for the Christian name on that one.
You could have gotten Rudolf Voller from Roma, which is awesome.
The birth certificate name is getting used.
Yeah, seriously, this is amazing. You could have gotten all kinds of Italian. You had Italian national team figures as well. Baggio was with Fiorentina at this point, but you could have got him in the Italy kit as well. Yeah, this is pretty sweet.
I always thought of him as an Italy player anyway. I think most people do. That's a great figurine you got there, though, man.
You remember the old starting lineup figures they did for the NFL and Major League Baseball and all that. So I didn't know they had done like an Italian version of it. See, there you go on the back, all the different squads and Forza Campioni. Very sweet.
Look at that.
Yeah. I was excited to get that.
Was that an eBay purchase?
It was an eBay, I think I actually got it for $5. I mean, the shipping I think was $3 or $4. But yeah, I got it for nothing. There were a bunch of them on there, and I just waited for one that was super cheap.
Do we have a divorce lawyer on our roster of sponsors? Because now that I've discovered this, I may be needing one.
I haven't looked for those other figures in the series, so I don't know.
Just a row of figurines.
Oh no!
So to Nick's point about this game, I'm going to try and steer this back on topic a little bit.
Yeah, we can try.
Man. So it feels like the argument has always been, about some guys like Messi and some of those athletes, Michael Jordan, you've heard about it with LeBron. It's a matter of you stop everyone else because you can't stop them from getting theirs. Like in a playoff game, you're going to stop everyone else on the Cavs in the past now, the Lakers, because you weren't going to stop LeBron from getting a triple-double unless you put bear traps around the actual court. Unless you put a Burmese tiger trap into the field, you're probably not going to stop Messi. So to Nick's point, do you just beat the dog out of everybody else and think Messi might get his, but we're going to make sure that he has to go do it by himself like it's a scene out of Shaolin Soccer?
Yeah.
But if Messi gets his, that might be all they need. I think good Barcelona, that would be all they'd need. I don't know if that's going to be enough against this group. I just don't. I question their mental strength in a game like this. And that's where I give Napoli the edge, because if anybody's mentally weak, they're going to get stabbed with a fork on the way to the stadium. Flat out, until they get some mental toughness. They're going to get stabbed with a fork, knives, whoever knows what Gattuso might have to stab people with. You're playing for Gattuso.
Go ahead.
No. I mean, it's just you're playing for him. I don't know if the Barcelona players are playing for Setien. I don't think they are.
No. With Napoli, I think Gattuso's not afraid to press them, to bring that line up high, to try to put as much distance from Messi, to keep Messi away from the goal. Bring that line up high, press them, put that defense, that bummy defense of Barcelona under pressure. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. And if you're going to make those legs of Messi do anything, sucker, you're going to run doing it. And because otherwise you don't want to just bunker and have him hanging out in front of your goal, because he's guaranteed to get one doing that.
Yeah.
I think you have to put as much space between him and the goal as humanly possible. You run a high line, press them, and let them try to play out of it. And if you do, then you're going to have to get in a foot race with Messi and Suarez. I think you have young enough defenders to be able to somehow cope with that.
I think so. Jarrett, final thoughts on this?
I realized all I want out of life is like an Atletico Madrid Napoli game where you have two managers.
Wow.
who are liable to possibly end each other's lives after they've ended their own team's lives.
Possibly?
Yeah. I'll put it this way. After Italy won the World Cup in 2006, Gattuso stripped down to his underwear and started and he was wearing briefs and started running around the field. So God knows what he would do if he managed a team to Champions League glory.
So now what we know at this point...
Jesus, Ronnie Dial, this sounds like nothing now.
That's true. We know that in the quarterfinals, we have PSG and Atalanta in one. We have Atleti and RB Leipzig in the other one. No Timo Werner for RB Leipzig. In the other quarterfinals, it will be the winner of Madrid and City against the winner of Juve and Lyon, which could be very, very interesting. And then Bayern Munich and the winner of Napoli and Barcelona.
They'd have to go through a gauntlet to get there, but Atleti and Napoli would just be that's not even a street fight. That's an insult to street fights.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be an absolute knife fight.
That would be a blast, though.
1994 soccer. It would be incredible.
Nick, that might, I don't even know if you can use a knife for that. That might be just a bunch of broken bottles.
The drinking game would be you have to take a drink for every rough challenge. So you're dead at halftime. It's just you're passed out at halftime. It's just
that's alcohol poisoning.
Yeah,
don't do that. This is the official soccer down here disclaimer. Don't do that. But that's the game if you want to play. But don't play the game. It's bad. No.
All right, I'm going to need some help with this one because we've got a couple things to wrap up here.
Okay. Go ahead.
What is it?
Mondays with Reddit.
Oh, very nice. You might want to look at the roster of Cruzeiro in Brazil. They have been, according to Globo Esporte in Brazil, they have been threatened with relegation to the third tier of Brazilian football because they have an €850,000 debt with Aluwada that has not been paid yet. It's already cost them a 6-point deduction. So Cruzeiro needs some cash, now. You might want to start mapping that out. You might want to get a message over to your boys in Milan, Nick. We might be able to find some deals.
Oh God, who do we have?
Cruzeiro going to the third tier in Brazil if they can't find some cash. Atlanta United might want to look. Just to say here, let's look at.
Take a look at it.
Let's look at Cruzeiro on Transfer Market and see what we're talking about here. They're currently in Serie B, so they don't have much to sell. I think a couple guys that are over $1 million or a couple million. He's 32. You don't want him. You could get the not K Kaká, but the C Kaká, 21-year-old center back who's valued at just under $2 million. You could probably get him for $1 million, half price. Could work. Man, they've already sold all their good young players.
Wow.
They got a bunch of 30-year-olds. Cruzeiro's
you're going
off.
third division, Chief.
Yeah, it's done. Sorry, Cruzeiro. We tried.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't. They're in big, big trouble. Oh, Cruzeiro, a very proud team, but
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Yeah, it's a problem. I do have this for you, though, Nick. I I don't know if this is exciting to you or not, but we're going to find out. Hold on, we need some translation to happen here. You have a player, Milo Rashica, who is reportedly meeting with Milan leadership. The player's entourage is talking about being there. Entourage Rashica does not confirm a meeting with Milan in the past few days. The team is not confirming it. Rashica's entourage is saying that they met in Milan.
Oh, all right.
Whoa, okay, settle down there, Italian websites. You're out of control. Milan trying to make some deals.
Are Italian websites ever in control?
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Milan is reported to have the Elliott Fund. Let's go ahead and make sure that we get this correct. The Elliott Fund, which is a vulture hedge fund, and by vulture hedge fund we mean they find diminishing assets, purchase them at rock bottom prices, and then try to flip them for profit. In this case, they were able to do this because the previous owner was playing with monopoly money. So they allegedly, after agreeing to keep Pioli and Maldini, have allowed Maldini a certain amount of money to go and get players to strengthen the roster.
Have they
How
allowed
much money? We don't know.
$24.2 million?
They can do that. They can do 24.2.
That's what our friend Rashica is listed at on Transfermarkt. He is currently with Werder Bremen, who probably could use the cash. Kosovo international, left winger is what he's primarily played. Can also play up top. So you might have
I know another person who can come in and play for them.
Who's that?
For about $20 million.
Who's that?
Ezekiel Barco. I'm just throwing that out there. You know, in my late night radio voice, we're gonna say Ezekiel Barco.
How fast?
Yeah, why do you sound like Art Bell right now?
Yeah, that got weird. How fast would you buy the Barco Milan kit?
Oh, overnight. It'd be overnighted from Milan.
Man, I might too, to be honest. That's a pretty good one.
And not like the cheap kit, not like the streetwear kit. I'm talking like the one, like the field official kit.
Okay.
There's so many things that Nick's gonna risk divorce for, and I love it.
That's true. That's what it's turning into.
Just letting you know. Budget be damned. Damn the torpedoes.
You know.
What can you do?
That's about where we're at these days.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Capsey's excited, says that's his boat.
Hey,
I'd like to see him go to Italy.
I think Barco
really
ends
would.
up in Serie A no matter what. I really do.
I've said it about Miguel too. I think both of those guys, for different reasons, would really thrive in Serie A.
They would. Serie A wouldn't have seen a player with that kind of acceleration for talking about Almiron since Kaká. I'm not saying their skill set's the same. I'm saying acceleration. Let's make sure we're 100% clear on this.
His acceleration is even more. I think the skill set's not as much, but the acceleration. Right. Yeah, I think
the
it's
acceleration.
More.
Yes.
You played him as an 8 in Italy, because that's where I think he's best suited.
Yep.
Yeah, you play him as an 8. Ooh.
It'd be beautiful.
So who's going to go to Newcastle with $25 million? Because you think Newcastle says no?
For $25 million now? Mike Ashley?
25
Mike
million
Ashley
right
says,
now.
yeah, I'm cool with that.
I would think so too.
Mike
Well,
Ashley
no,
says,
okay, so no, wait, let's see. They paid about that. So you might need to go up to
Newcastle have the
30.
same issue that we have here where people go, man, that guy that just left, man, he was really damn good. Maybe we didn't give him enough credit for being so insane.
No, I think Miguel really turned it around with. And I think the fans always supported him from day one.
Right.
But I think the club and the leadership, the technical staff, I think they finally got it as the year went on. So I don't think that's the issue. But the whole thing with Newcastle is really interesting at this point because they put all of their chips in selling the club. Going out spending a bunch of money. That's not happening now, at least with the Saudi Arabian group. They've pulled out. I haven't heard anything about the other offers that were reportedly on the table. And now, I mean, what are they going to do? Like, after you get the rug pulled out from under you, what does their next season look like? He's somebody, I think, after what he showed. Actually, I'm underselling him at 25. I would think 35 would get the deal done.
He's been with Newcastle for what, 2 seasons?
Season and a half now.
Season and a half?
Yeah.
And you got him for how much? 25, roughly?
You got him. Was it around 25? I think. In that ballpark.
So you don't have a large plus Valenza. You got a small plus Valenza there. But I would say 30 gets the deal done.
That could.
I would say 30. And there are a couple of teams in Italy that could do that today. Fiorentina could do that today. Lazio could do that today.
Fiorentina's the wild card, too. I could see them really spending on some of these guys. And that with that ownership, they're going to look at the time here in the U.S. differently than a lot of other clubs would. And I think they're going to value it. So, that'd be fascinating if Fiorentina comes in with, like, Diego Rossi, Miguel Almiron. It could happen.
Every team is looking to source talent from new and inexpensive places. And if you can get Barco for 15 to 20 mil in COVID market.
Yeah, I would think it's got to be 20.
You'll get one of them. You'll get Barco or Almiron, but I think that realistically, Barco would be the best fit for Fiorentina. I think Almiron with a team like Milan. Almiron with Milan would be terrifying for teams where you could just let him do what he does best. And they would love him there. I mean, they would absolutely love him in Milan. His work rate is unquestioned. I mean,
Bernd is saying that Rashica, he's heard out of the German side of it, that Rashica wanted to go to Leipzig to replace Timo Werner. Don't know if Werder Bremen's asking for 25. He's valued at 25 according to Transfermarkt. Bernd thinks he'll end up going to Leipzig for like 15. That's what's so interesting, this market. I mean, those numbers are all coming down on Transfermarkt, but they're guessing just like the rest of us right now. What are these sales actually going to happen for? I mean, if Milan offered 18 and they really want him, maybe that's the number that gets him.
You're seeing a lot of transfer rumors for players that are like, oh yeah, so-and-so is going here for 15 million. You're like, wait, what?
It's weird. It feels like the top end is still where it was, but that middle tier, bottom's dropped out.
It's middle tiers where some of these teams are going to make or lose money where they didn't expect to, 12 months ago.
Could be.
It's kind of it's a weird situation, I think. For, I'll loop it back to the Highlands where you got a guy, like El Buffalo for Rangers, who, Alfredo Morelos, who, 12 months ago, even 7-8 months ago, the market was different than it is now. He's not that top flight guy. He's going to stick into that lower middle tier market where you might have asked for 18 to 20 million from different clubs, and now it's just not there.
8 to 10.
I gotta see. He was linked to Toulouse, perhaps. I'll have to check. Let me look this up.
Yeah, and they're not throwing much money around.
No, yeah, but I mean, you had a situation where you had some of these guys who were middle of the road, and they were linked, and then it just that market kind of falls through.
And if you're in a front office, you can't drive yourself crazy right now because you can't look back and say like, oh man, we could have sold him for $10 million more. You got to do what you got to do right now because it's a whole different world, and that other world, I don't know when that's coming back.
Oh, it was Lille in France.
Okay.
No, I think that look at the agents in this. The agents are going to do one of two things. They're either going to say, hey, we're reading the tea leaves and we see there's a few more outbreaks than we're feeling comfortable with. We're going to take the deal now and try to make this move happen before the bottom falls out. Or they're going to say, hey, we believe in a year, maybe 2 tops, that we're going to be back rolling again. We believe we can double this valuation. We're going to sit tight. So the agents are going to be pulling a lot of strings here, and commission is always going to be something they're going to consider. But just keep in mind that it's not just a team saying, we want to move player X, we want to move player Y, or we want to buy this player. There's an agent behind them saying, hey, look, now's not the time. Sit tight. Say you love the team and you're so happy you don't want to go anywhere. And they can short circuit the deals in a lot of ways. They can tell the purchasing team, hey, he's not coming right now, and pretty much end it. So just keep an eye on the agents and what they're doing. If you can go on Transfermarkt and you can find a lot of these the players who their representatives are, and look and see what those agents are doing. And if those agents are moving a lot of players, it gives you kind of an idea of what's going on behind the scenes per agent to let you know this person may be on the move, this person may not. There's a lot of factors outside of just a team wanting to buy and a team wanting to sell.
That's a good point. Let's finish with this. Kevsey's checking us on fastest players in Serie A.
Let's go.
He said Douglas Costa, and we should have been talking about him. Also says, the internet says some guy named Ronaldo is second fastest. You think Cristiano's still there? I don't know about that.
Look, Douglas Costa is great, but Douglas Costa has to, I think, rate higher for Saudi. I think Costa's a far better player than what he's given credit for in Italian media. I think he's a far better player. I think he'd be a showstopper at most other teams outside of Juve. But I don't think that he gets really the opportunity to shine like he needs to. And as far as Ronaldo goes, since the restart, Ronaldo has looked a full step slower to me.
Yeah, yes.
Which, I mean, I don't think that he's look, man, the guy's what, 36, 37?
Ooh, is he? I don't think he's quite up there yet, is he? I thought Balotelli was like in his 30s, though, and he turns 30 next week.
But I can tell you that Ronaldo has looked older for the first time.
Yeah, 35.
When he first got to Juve, how old is he?
35.
35, okay. He has looked older this year, post-restart, than he has at any other point. And I think that's because he's so regimented in his fitness regime that everything is, by this point, I should be here. And with the stoppage, it got interrupted. He has not looked the same to me. So, yes, traditionally very fast player, but do I think he's still in the top 2 to 3 players in Serie A? I'd be shocked if he still is. I wonder,
and I'm drawing connections here. Gustavo hanging out with us from Buenos Aires. Hola, Gustavo. Thanks for hanging out. Let's bring it all full circle, because we talked a lot about Zlatan and the year he had with Milan, and he was successful and scored against big teams, scored against nothing teams, double digits. Big season for him going over to Milan. I didn't expect it. I thought he'd struggle more. He's been fine. It shows the level he's at. It also shows the level MLS is at. Now, Gustavo from Argentina makes a point. In Argentina, the fan bases in general think that players going from Argentina to MLS, that they're destroying their career. Maybe Miguel is off to the side right now, hasn't proven it yet. He says in Barco and Pitti's cases, if Atlanta United sold them for good money, it'll prove that MLS is that well-established bridge between South America and Europe. And I totally agree. It changes it. And I think now to then draw the link to Italy, I would think that the perception of MLS, because of what Zlatan's done coming into Serie A, is higher, along with Fiorentina's ownership, who is not going to be as down on MLS as some others would be. I think you could see more Serie A shopping in Major League Soccer than we've ever seen.
Yeah, Saputo is somebody who could have his team dialing in to find out what the going rate is on a couple of MLS players. Obviously, Fiorentina. Keep in mind that Milan just signed a deal with Rock Nation to get for marketing, so they're going to be looking for names that can resonate with the American market. Don't be shocked if they start trying to find some American players, also American based, like obviously MLS. But And, don't be shocked if Roma, who is allegedly Friedkin's making another deal to Pilata to try to get that deal done. Don't be shocked if they are in the market for players from MLS.
It's a good market to buy in right now.
It is, and it's a steady market. They've just played games. There's game tape out there of these players, which is why I think MLS is back. They can Don Garber can say whatever he wants. You can't tell me that they didn't do an MLS is back tournament right before the transfer window without considering the fact that they need to move players.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
But yeah. But whenever we were talking about Miguel Almiron moving to Europe, we had a conversation here, and it was almost like an all-star cast that we had on that day. And the conversation was, do we keep Miguel for a title run or do we move him during the summer? And I said, if you get a deal in the summer, you move him because you have to prove the model works. And it's not just bring money into the club, proving that model, but also when you go to any agent in South America, you can say, even if we're in a title hunt, if we find a good deal for you, you're going. We will not hold you back. We will move you to a club in Europe. We will make your dreams come true, and that will make those players more eager to sign in MLS, in my opinion. But I think Gustavo's right. If we can move Barco, it proves the model works. PT, I don't know what his next move is.
He's a tougher one to call. The age is a little different. He's just such a unique player too. I mean, there's clubs who I think would really value him, and there's clubs who would really not value him. Like he has got to be in the right situation to get the max value.
Build around him.
To a
degree. I want to see him in Ligue 1.
Yeah. He could fit there. I think he could fit in Italy in the right situation, but you're going to have to protect him. I mean, you're going to have to make some sacrifices in the way you structure the team to get the best out of him. But he's also a guy, and maybe we'll see this, because I don't expect him to move this summer. I think Barco could, if the number's right.
I think he is.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit. If Barco went in this upcoming window, it would not surprise me a bit. I think it's in one of the next two, no question. Yeah. But Pitti, I don't think he goes yet. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see a very different Pitti Martinez for the rest of 2020 in Atlanta. Because I think he does want that move. He knows the clock's ticking on a move to Europe. Right. He hasn't experienced playing in Europe yet. If he balls out in the rest of this tournament, and all the issues are gone now, Stephen Glass understands players. He understands a guy like Pitti Martinez. He's seen what didn't work. He's going to come in and make Pitti very comfortable from day one. I think you're going to see an MVP caliber Pitti Martinez the rest of 2020, and I think he's doing that because he wants that move somewhere in Europe in January.
Yeah, you had a playmaker. If you believe the stuff that was in the Athletic, and I'm not doubting their sourcing, and I'm not doubting their reporting.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason not to.
Yeah, if you go by that, what we're saying is, one of the key issues they had with Frank was a lack of detail in the training session. Now, you're talking about details in structure, details in play, details in build-up. And if you are a playmaking midfielder, what are you involved with? All of it. So, you're going to have problems. You're not going to look comfortable. I believe that I will be in agreement with you on this. And for the record, you and I don't always see eye to eye on player moves, transfers, things like that. But I think you and I are in 100% agreement on this. I think we're going to see a different Pitti Martinez going forward in this situation. I think he's going to ball out of control. He wants that move to Europe. And if Barco goes now, it will be even more on him to be like, okay, Barco's gone. I'm better than him. Do this. Let's go. So I think you're going to see that out of him this season. But Barco, to me, this window is gone. I can't put a finger on why. I have no intelligence that tells me that a move is happening. The way that Atlanta seems to be bringing players in, it just something feels to me like they're gearing up for a move to happen.
It could. The Jonathan Gonzalez one could be the precursor to it. Go ahead, Jarrett.
All right. Yeah, that's the reading of the tea leaves for me. Is if you've got an issue where you're bringing in like a guy like Jonathan Gonzalez, and you're asking him to be, hey, come in and be part of this spine that we've got. Because you think about this team when it's healthy. Let's say you had Jonathan Gonzalez. And Jason, where would you play him? 6 or 8? Anywhere in between? I mean, what are you doing with him?
I need to see more. I lean to an 8. I don't want to put him in a position where he's just sitting. I'd like to have him be able to get forward and impact the attack. So I'm thinking 8, but I want to see him in this mix.
I mean, at that point, you're talking about building the spine out where, let's say he does come in, where you've got a center back pairing that is both athletic and reads the game well. Mm-hmm. You've got a slew of 6 and 8s to roll around, potentially Pitti in the 10 if you want to get him that with that freedom to move around, or Barco, and then potentially Cubo Torres, whoever it may be playing up top. I mean, you still got a solid spine here talent wise. What kind of lays out, if we want to play read the tea leaves, is the idea of, okay, you move Barco, you free up that DP slot. You bring in a guy like Gonzalez, let's say it is on a loan for the first year, and then he comes here next year on a permanent move on DP money.
Yeah.
Actually, is he young enough under the under 22 initiative, or is he going to be 22?
I think he'd be 22 next year. And the way that it was written, that wouldn't work.
There's something about this that and it's not to push. Don't read it as pushing Barco out.
Yeah,
but
not at all.
The idea of if Barco is gone, you can build that midfield around a Pity Martinez.
I'd actually do it differently. I'll tell you what, as we're talking through it, if Barco goes, and let's say you go to a line of 4, because you could. You've got the pieces. You've got the pieces to play whatever you want.
You got the pieces to do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
You can play whatever way you want. But let's say you go 4-3-3 with it, and you've got Kubo as your number 9. You've got Jurgen Damm on the right side. You play Pitti on the left side. You play a midfield trio of Gonzalez, if you bring him in, Emerson Heinemann as your 10, and Remedi as your 6. Or you could play Mo Adams as a 6. I'd like to see Remedi have that opportunity. And then your back line is Bello on the left, Escobar on the right, and Meza and Robinson as your 2 center backs. That's a pretty dynamic starting 11 right there. And you've got a midfield trio with Heinemann, who can drop deeper and can sit deeper if he needs to, but can also go forward and join the attack and score goals. You've got Pitti free on the left. He's going to come inside. That's fine, because George Bello is going to push forward. You've got a lot of cover to make it work. You've got a lot of the right pieces to make it work. It's really, really interesting. I like it. I like what that could look like.
And then you still got a guy you still got a Manuel Castro. You've still got Hazatu. You still got a lot of weapons to work with in that midfield. That I don't think it's very a stretch at all to say, hey, if Barco does leave, let's say someone comes in with $25 million and says, hey, we'll take Ezequiel Barco off your hands. Bye. We'll help you pack his bags. Best of luck, 8. Good luck, little boat.
Yeah, you got to get at least 20, I think, to justify it, because it's you paid 15. Independiente is going to get 10% of what you bring in. Mm-hmm. You've got to get at least 20, and you can justify that because the market's changed and all that. Bernd and Gustavo are on the same thing that I was on at the end of last season, in that the midfield needs something, and I think Jonathan Gonzalez could be that. Michael Ruiz with a really good point. Jonathan Gonzalez and Monterrey are playing León at 10 o'clock tonight, starting in about 40 minutes. That's going to be on TUDN. I think it's on TUDN Extra, but it might be on one of the different TUDN networks. So you can watch Jonathan Gonzalez possibly play there, or actually, I think he said he's already left, so maybe not. Waiting to see what happens there. But anyway,
and you're looking to upgrade. There's so much about just, you think about, going to a really weird analogy for this, but just kind of being the braces of, think of Atlanta United's midfield right now as kind of the legs of Forrest Gump at the beginning of that movie. All the potential in the world, and it's just, something's just not right now, but you just need something to brace it and strengthen it up. That might be Jonathan Gonzalez. who braces it, strengthens it up, and then, you've unleashed the best kick returner in Southeastern Conference history that doesn't somehow end up with scholarship violations.
It could be. Gustavo said that the problem he sees with Atlanta is the midfield, especially the 6 and the 8. Remedi's been way below his best performance, which I agree. I think he's been there since the middle of last season. Midfield lacked recovery and pressing. You've got to fix that. I thought the 6 was an issue coming into the season. It didn't really get addressed. Gonzalez could be that. Also, the players that are there that could have addressed it haven't performed either. So, I mean, it's not like you don't have 6s. Mm-hmm. You have 6s. It just hasn't worked. So if you change the shape, if you change the personality of the group, which I think is as big of a thing as anything, you've got the pieces to make it work. Gonzalez could put it over the top. He's going to have to come in and perform too. But I think he's got some of the characteristics you're looking for.
So if I can, Nick, do you have anything to add to this before I completely throw us for a loop as we wrap up?
Oh, boy. We need to be thrown for a loop.
I just think if the Gonzalez stuff is true, I think it could be something that would overcome a lot of the deficiencies that you're seeing right now. And clarity, to Stephen Glass's point, is the key here, not complexity. We don't, well, there's a movie called Soldier. There's like an early 2000s Kurt Russell movie, and Gary Busey's in it in all his glory.
Oh, wow.
And his line is, one of his legendary lines is, my daddy always said, when you're trying to hit a nail, son, you don't do anything fancy. You just pull the hammer back and hit it. And that's what Atlanta United needs right now. Don't do anything fancy. Let the boys loose and let them do what they do, because there's more talent on this roster than a lot of MLS clubs. Yeah. And so clarity's needed. With the clarity, it's going to be very easy. Gonzalez puts that over the top, in my opinion.
Clarity can be simple. And when you go back to some of the questions from the Athletic article, if you're not giving the clarity and instruction, and I don't know if you're just expecting, I don't know where that breakdown was. Not there every day. There's no way to know that unless you're in the group. But you can be clear in delivering the instructions and your tactical, game plan. You can a lot of times be clear by just being simple and setting up a simple structure, a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it with this group. You've got the personnel to do it, and you can be very dangerous and still have a lot of weapons off the bench too. I mean, the lineup that I said didn't even have Brooks Lennon in it. And I think he's been one of the more impressive players so far. You've got a lot of different ways you can make this work. And I think Gonzalez would shore up that issue in the middle. Right. I'm with Burned. I like Mo Adams, and I thought Glassy got really good performances out of Mo Adams in the second half of last season when he played for the Twos a good bit. Maybe Mo Adams elevates
way better than I ever expected.
Yeah, he's good on the ball.
Mo Adams can play with the ball.
He's very good on the ball.
Saw Glassy having played with the ball, and it worked.
The point that Burned makes is a good one. I think it's the pace of play in MLS, because he says he doesn't smell danger. He's not that good in space. I think it's experience for him. He'll get an opportunity because Glassy knows him, but Gonzalez will come in and should raise the level of that midfield, which is an issue. All right, to finish us off, we were going to do this a while ago, but we have not finished it off yet. Jarrett, you're going to finish us off with something that I'm a little afraid of. I don't know what it is.
Okay, I want quick hits if you want them. You can elaborate if you want to.
Oh, boy.
Outside of, as we know, Rossi, for what he did at LAFC, when he got kind of handed the spotlight without Carlos Vela. Who in Major League Soccer, because we've just been talking transfers for the last God knows how long, who in this league has raised their transfer profile the most,
Chris
in your
Mueller.
opinion?
Chris Mueller. Chris Mueller is on people's radar.
I think Chris Mueller has just basically replaced Julian Gressel as like everyone's dream player for the U.S. national team.
That's a good point. Brendan Aronson. He's had a coming out party in this event for sure.
But I don't know. I'm against him going to Celtic. Not because he's not good enough, but because that midfield has a lot of pieces already. And a lot of homegrown pieces that fit in, and I think he needs as much playing time as he can, and I don't know how much he would get at Celtic. I'd rather him stay at Philadelphia.
Yeah, there's this thing, like, if you go to Celtic, you need to go play. If you go to Manchester City, okay, we're having a different conversation. But if you're going to Celtic, you need to go play. You don't need to go and be in the bench at Celtic. That's not going to benefit you. Play at Philadelphia.
No. Yeah, hell yes.
I'm not knocking Celtic by that. It's just I think it's just the level. Like, you need to go play there. If you're going into the City organization, like if you're Zach Steffen, which goalkeepers are always a little different, but if you're Zach Steffen, okay, you're not expected to go in and be the number one at City straight away. But you're in the club, and you're going to get loaned out, and it sounds like he might get an opportunity to come in and be part of the squad next year. Good for him. But if you're going to Celtic, if you're going to like an Anderlecht, if you're going into the Dutch league, you got to go and play. There's no point in making the move if you're not going to play. Byrne says 3 teams in Germany are looking at Brendan Aronson. I think he's been the one maybe worldwide who's gotten the most attention.
Good.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with any Bundesliga team that wants to come swipe some MLS talent, because they seem to be the only ones who know what to do with American kids at this point.
Serie A needs to, man. They need to, because I think the money really works on both sides of it. And I think the level is comparable for a lot of teams and for a lot of players.
But it's going to take a Jim Pilata or Friedkin or Rocco Camiso to make that happen.
Probably.
Or Saputo. There's no other way. Because the Italian owners, it will be the ultimate slap in the face if you spend more than $10 million on some American kid. You will be laughed out of town. Guaranteed. As ridiculous and stupid as that is, you will be laughed out of town.
Byrne thinks Ernst Tanner sells Aronson to Mönchengladbach. Could see that.
I'll
absolutely.
Buy that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
KFC throws Andre Blake into the conversation. Blake's still a little too inconsistent for me.
That's a move that felt like it should have happened a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah. But I've been waiting for that, for someone to grab him on. Because you talk about inconsistency. I don't disagree. But, man, that's how I felt about Zach Steffen with the ball at his feet for so damn long at this point. Right. Where I watched Zach Steffen play, and I'm like, that ball wasn't supposed to. Buddy, other team. Pass it to the other team.
I'm trying to think of anybody else who really jumped out at me so far from an individual performance standpoint. He's not talked about in this way, but, man, Latif Blessing could be a really good fit for some teams in Europe in that midfield. Yep. What Bradley's done with Latif Blessing has been incredibly impressive. It's a lower value version of what Pep has done with Raheem Sterling, taking a winger and bringing them in centrally at times to get different things out of them. Latif Blessing could play in Europe, in my opinion.
Buddy, Latif Blessing would tear Scotland apart with the way he can play physically.
Oh, yeah.
He would go in there and murder people and then just technically abuse them. Yeah, I'm not saying he needs to go there. I'm just saying he would absolutely decimate them, and I would be here for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want more partnerships between MLS clubs and Bundesliga teams. That's what I want. Because Bundesliga, to me, seems like the natural fit so far because I feel like they know when to pull people out of MLS and make them successful.
Yeah, they don't have that perception against MLS players either. Like you mentioned with Italy, they don't have that. No,
and I feel like it's a healthier environment for MLS players to walk into because of that. Remember Onyewu when he went to Milan for that charade of we're signing an American player essentially for our U.S. tour. It was terrible. It was terrible for Onyewu. I don't think he was ever the same after that.
Yeah, he had bad luck with injury too, but he wasn't the guy to go there.
No.
His game didn't suit it. And I don't think he's at that level. I don't think he was at that level in his prime, but the type of American center back who would have been better at Milan would have been Michael Parkhurst because he can play. He could play with the ball at his feet. He's a very intelligent player. He would have been
2009 for those who want to go in the Wayback Machine. 2009 Michael Parkhurst we're talking about.
He would have been the better fit for a move like that than Gooch, who just Gooch would have been better in England in a more physical league, that wasn't, as technically demanding and wasn't as tactically demanding. Right. Gooch was just an imposing center back. If the injury hadn't happened, who knows? Maybe it would have worked out. Maybe he would have picked things up in his game that he needed to improve. But that was a tough move all the way around. I'm curious. I mean, Michael Ruiz says Rossi to a team like Fiorentina or Sevilla. That would make a lot of sense.
Yep.
There's a lot of guys in MLS, and this window coming up, and it opens the day after the MLS's back tournament, and MLS's window goes all the way into late October. So after the European windows close, the MLS window is still going to be open. So you're going to be able to do a couple different things if you're Major League Soccer. And I don't think that's by accident either. You're going to be able to sell guys as European teams are building for this upcoming season. And you're going to have some teams who are willing to spend and need more depth because it's going to be a crazy compressed season. They're going to need more bodies. So you're going to be able to sell. But then you're also, after the European windows close and teams are stuck with some players, you're going to be able to pick up some scraps from teams who are like, man, we've got like 3 center backs or 5 center backs here, and we got to get rid of one. We got to bring in a little bit of extra money. These guys not going to play, so let's go ahead and sell him for $2 million here, $1 million here. Let's go ahead and do it. So if you're MLS, you have a huge opportunity ahead that can really set the next couple of years. And it's going to be outgoing and incoming, I think. I think MLS will be very busy in this upcoming window, and it's going to be over a couple of months.
And don't be shocked to see players, youth players, be a part of these transfers.
Yeah.
It's where you're going to see trades that are going to look a lot like baseball trades, where it will be like a first-team player, a couple of academy kids, and cash considerations. So don't be shocked to see those moves just globally, not just between Europe and MLS.
Final thought, Jarrett.
Can I give you another player that I want to keep an eye on?
Sure.
Not necessarily for this window, but for a future one, Hassani Dotson.
Yes, I like Hassani Dotson a lot.
How about that?
I like him central. I mean, he had to
Still
play.
Just 22.
Yeah, he had to play a little bit of outside back last year just because of numbers. But yeah, I like him centrally for Minnesota. He's a player. You find these guys. I mean, there's players that. Chase Gasper's another one at Minnesota who came out of nowhere. That just, there wasn't an expectation that he would be a stud in this league, and he can be. Dotson, you're talking about draft picks.
Goose just balling out.
Yeah, and then you get guys like that, coming from Scandinavia. You get guys coming from, lesser leagues in South America. You've got a really interesting player mix in MLS, and that's going to create some opportunities to sell because this conversation wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. The Almiron deal has turned a lot of heads. The Alphonso Davies deal has turned a lot of heads. I think Christian Pulisic's success, it's not MLS related, but it's turned heads. Weston McKennie's success has turned heads. Maybe some countries are still kind of, coming around to, hey, there's good value in MLS, but you're going to see more activity in this window coming up. I think people are expecting on the outgoing side. It's going to happen.
Yep.
I still had in my head that a couple of years ago, if you'd asked me who that guy was going to be, I would have thought it would be a guy like Alexander Ring. Just didn't materialize to be that guy to make that move.
Those are the next kinds of guys, though. Those guys who are 25, 26, 27, and are just established pros. And it's not going to be, maybe it's not Serie A who comes calling, but maybe it is the Scottish Premiership who comes in with a couple $1 million for a player like that because they know he can step right in, he can play. Like you don't have anything to worry about, onboarding with him. He can step right into a lineup and play.
Somebody's going to go pick up Hassani Dotson at some point, and God bless Minnesota for making a mint off of him. Hopefully,
yep,
because that's a draft pick. I mean, that's free money, baby.
All right, I gave my picks this morning. You guys won't be on the morning show this week. So to finish us off, since we've tried to do that 5 times now, your picks for the – no, it's all good. For the semifinals in MLS, who gets to the final?
Jared, go.
Matchups? I know the teams, but what are we matching up?
So it's – man, why am I drawing a blank on it too? I should have these memorized at this point.
Do you know how much mental recall
it's
we've had to do in the past hour?
Philadelphia and Orlando. Philadelphia,
Portland on Wednesday. Who wins?
And then the Inchi Cup.
Yeah, Orlando, Minnesota on Thursday.
Man, I'm going to piss off Jason intentionally by going Philadelphia over Portland. And
I picked that.
Okay, I don't want to pick against Giovanni.
I don't either, but yeah, I'm with it. Philadelphia's been the most impressive team.
You have woodworking tools and have started building a shrine to the man.
Gio's awesome.
It's great. He could have been yours, Atlanta. He could have been yours.
Never lined up really at the right times weren't there.
So
you got Philly
over Portland,
okay,
and Minnesota over Orlando.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, Jarrett, finish up. What do you got, Jarrett?
No, I mean it's.
You seem troubled by this.
I just want someone to not consider Minnesota the underdog anymore, just because it's a good team. This isn't Minnesota from 2017 anymore. The team is good.
BetMGM's got them as the underdog against Orlando.
I know they do, and it just pisses me off to no end. Like, no, they're actually really good, y'all. I need y'all to recognize the pieces there are incredibly good. They're a missed sitter away from sending the U.S. Open Cup final last year to penalties against the Atlanta team that was down a man. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all. That team is good. I mean, this isn't 2017 where they were giving up 70 goals a year.
No, not at all.
I'll go ahead and say Philadelphia over Portland. I'll say 2-1 on that game, and I'm going to say Orlando beats Minnesota 2-0.
Wow. Orlando, eh?
I'm putting the flag down. Okay. I'm putting the flag down. You guys know me. I don't bet with my heart. I want Minnesota to win. On our production thread, how many times have I gone lose?
Yeah. No, you're a fan.
Yeah.
Learn.
I love Minnesota. I love what they've done. I think it's a fantastic build. I love what Inchi's doing. But at the same time, this Orlando team feels special to me. And
it does.
It's a team that is dangerous. They're fast. Dom Dwyer's not in there to gum up the works anymore. So it's addition by subtraction. And I'm going to say that it's going to be Philadelphia, Orlando in the finals.
I got Philly, Minnesota. Jarrett's got Philly, Minnesota. Kevsey's got Philly, Minnesota.
All right, I'll be out in the lake.
I don't know if Teshuai Akindele's the guy long term in Miami, and it's sacrilegious, but I kind of want to see him go get a guy like a Sam Cosgrove just to see what he could do there.
Hey, Jarrett, let me tell you something, man. A bit of advice that I heard from a friend of mine who was dating a guy I didn't think was good news for her. She said, Nick, let me tell you, there's two kinds of men, Mr. Right and Mr. Right Now. And this dude's Mr. Right Now. So Teshuai Akindele is Mr. Right Now for Orlando. That's all they need.
Wow.
I'm really curious if like a guy like Sam Cosgrove what he would do in that system, like a stronger, center forward who can play with the ball at his feet, but can, create space in the box.
Pareja will go find somebody in South America who's like the perfect fit. But he's going to give Tesho every opportunity to be the guy first. Because, Oscar went.
His name's not Dwyer, so.
Well, true, but Oscar went and picked Tesho out of the Colorado School of Mines. I mean, he scouted him at the Colorado School of Mines. He's going to give that kid every opportunity to be the guy.
Oh, man. I'm just trying to think of ways to get Sam Cosgrove in MLS so we can watch him just leap over people and bowl people over.
It'll happen eventually. We'll see how he does at Aberdeen first. We got a ton. Go ahead, Nick. You got more?
All I say, tomorrow I want to hear John. Did John give the lines on these games?
Right now, according to MLS and BetMGM, that's their partner, and they're both the same. Philadelphia is the underdog against Portland. It's 170, plus 170 for Philly, plus 150 for Portland. BetMGM has no idea who's going to win these games. Orlando's plus 150 and Minnesota's plus 175.
Look for late action.
Yeah.
If you're the betting type, I want you to look for a late line move on Philadelphia, Portland. I don't think they're gonna. I think they're giving Orlando probably a bit more credit for being the home team in the run they're on. So don't pay too much attention to the line in Orlando City, Minnesota, but watch that line in the Philadelphia Portland game before you start putting your cash down.
Good shout. We'll talk about that final next week because it'll be next Tuesday. So on Monday's show, we'll get you ready for that. We'll get you ready for quarterfinals of Champions League. Man, next Monday's show is going to be stacked with stuff and transfer madness. Nicholas Bentner might do something stupid. There's plenty of time for Nicholas Bentner to say or do something really stupid and get into the show for next week. We'll definitely have Mondays with Reddit because who knows, Cruzeiro could be in the 3rd or 4th division by then. They might owe more people more money. It's going to be madness. That's what happens around here. Mm-hmm. We'll be back in the morning with all your usual daily craziness, but soccer over there next Monday is going to be stacked.
Popping.
Stacked.
So I came out blazing.
Yes.
Came out blasted, see?
That's
It's so good.
Came out blasted.
Nick, send us home, please.
Until next time, everybody. Mucho, mucho euro, y'all.
Ay, Dios mío.